3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasin The Racin.
Welcome back to the podcast brought to you by OMG Racing. Lucky day competitions, buy a ticket, more chance of winning the lottery. And also JCT Truck and Trailer Hire. Perfectly, this is a perfect opportunity. He's not from Boston, but Ben Wilson, superbike rider, supersport rider, team manager. This is going to be the most expensive podcast known to man. I think he's going to bill us for putting the Ugly & Co sign up, which is a skateboard, which you've kindly signed. You fix the stand that I've broken with this magic glue that you won't advertise because they're not paying you. Is that right?
That's absolutely right.
That is 100% right. And obviously, yeah, we'll give that a go later on. But this is a perfect opportunity. Episode sponsor for the pod, and I'm going to leave that to Josh. Honestly, I'm off my titties.
Yeah, so this week's episode sponsor is Hatchmor. So Mark from Hatchmor, who's originally from the northeast of England, but has moved his business down to Margate. So they're based in Margate in Kent, and they build race-inspired custom motorcycles. So Grace will tag their Instagram. Go and check it out. They build some absolutely gorgeous-looking, like retro 90s, early noughties superbike stuff. Mark's a club racer himself. He's running an S-Rad this year at North Gloucester. And yeah, the Hatchmor business, they do some like real old school craftsman stuff, like they build like aluminium fairings and some like really trick stuff. So go and check out their Instagram page and have a look. And they've currently got a 12-month waiting list, but keen to take on more work, so you can contact them via their website or Instagram.
I'm glad you did that, not me, because I would not have got through that. 100%. No, so thank you, obviously, for coming on board for this episode. But we're parked on Wilson Motorcycles Drive. That's right, the family business.
Absolutely, yep.
How long's it been going now?
My dad started this in 1974. So, yeah, over 50 years. So he's been doing it a fair while.
Have you had him on with the team, though? As a mechanic?
Me?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, obviously. Yeah, I run the workshop here and do my own stuff as well. But yeah, been in the family. He started it years and years and years ago, and yeah, it's done as well. So yeah, it's good to have you on the driveway.
That's all lies. We're clogging the whole business. Honestly, we've pulled up. We're blocking everything. Even Amazon, all the deliveries are screaming at us. So Chasin The Racin will be getting a very bad review right now. But the good thing about the long drive down to not Boston is we got a chance to Wikipedia, Google you. We got to Google you. And the first thing that popped up is that you did a bit of sand racing.
Yeah, when I was 9, my dad got me into sand racing, which is basically you just race on an oval on the beach at Mablethorpe. So you just go down there. It's pretty much like Speedway, you just go off out of got some like elastic gates. Everything's really grassroots. You just go off at 4 laps, fast as you can on an oval. Go and do that. At the end of the day, if you've been good enough, you get a little plastic trophy, which you think's absolutely fantastic at that age. Took me a fair while to get one of them, to be honest. First time I ever did it, I was straight off, straight out the gate, fell off straight away. Finished last in my first ever race. Finished last all day, I think, to be honest, and then fell off in most of the races. But yeah, you've got to start somewhere. So yeah, that's what I started with.
What sort of bikes would there be? Would there be motocross bikes or speedway bikes?
They do. There's so many different things. You could go there on a 450 brand new motocross bike, or you can just literally go on a road bike that you've got out your shed. If you just Google a sand bike, you'll see some of the things that they actually take out there are actually unbelievable. So,
but they're still doing it now, though, aren't they? The championship, it's like obviously it's a seasonal thing, isn't it?
It's in the winter. It's only the winter months. It's basically, it works on when the donkey man's not there. That's how it works. Once the donkeys can't walk on that beach, then the racing starts. That's pretty much how it is.
How much sand? Obviously, you have, like everyone's heard of the Western Beach Race. Obviously, that's right down at the bottom of the country. But you don't hear of many overlook. Am I right in saying that?
I've never heard of it. I didn't think it was a thing.
Yeah,
Still,
there's loads of them that do it. Neil Tuxworth is a massive part of it. He did a lot of the organising and everything down there and back in the day. So there's been a lot of people that do it. Guy Martin's going down there at the minute, which is pretty good. But yeah, my son's doing it now. So it's and my daughter. So I've
and your daughter.
Yeah, I've got a 8-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son that are both doing it.
Well, obviously he's stepping up into tarmac racing, which we'll discuss later on. But I want to go quickly back to you. 9-year-old coming from a motorcycle. Is that a fair comment to say? It's always been motorcycles at the home.
Oh, that's all I've ever wanted to do. I got my first bike at 3. And then literally I remember going up to my dad saying, Dad, when can I race? When can I race? When can I race? And he'd be like, 200 days. And it always stayed 200 days for about 2 years. And then eventually I was old enough to do it. And I went to a little grass track race meeting. And my dad sat me on the start line there. And I remember looking up and I saw all these these bigger lads. I was supposed to be 9, but my dad lied and got me out at 8. And then I went off for my first race. And I remember going around there and I came back into the little into the van, just sat there bawling. I thought I was the boy before I started racing, and then I quickly realised I wasn't very fast at all. I finished last in that, and then I came back in, and I didn't want to do the next race. I was like, no, I don't want to go out, Dad. Don't want to go out, and ended up getting enough courage, went back out, and but from that point I was hooked. But it took me a long while to actually get the adrenaline from it, to be honest. I was scared of it for a long while.
I tell you what, we've got, I think we're single-handedly taking over this terminology on Chasin The Racin, but the motocross dad is a nationwide term. What was your dad like?
My dad was never really like that. He never really used to say a lot, to be honest. He'd tell me I feel I was crashing too much, especially when I was on the tarmac, because it used to cost so much. But, before that, my mum used to go out there when I was really, really young. And she used to be like, just slow him down. And he'd be like, he's all right. Just leave him. He's all right. I'd wear a rear tyre out on a Pee-wee 50 in about a week. I was a mental kid. But, I think everybody who's into bikes is like that. You need to have that sort of mindset. So it's,
Were you an only child?
No, I've got a sister, elder sister.
Is she faster than you, or nothing to do with that?
She used to do a little bit, to be honest, but she used to have a Pooch Magnum. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of them.
Have you ever heard of one of them,
before my time, that.
This thing was, it's before my time then. It was old then.
Can someone Google,
Pooch Magnum?
I don't know if I want to Google that, actually.
I know, this is a trap.
I've got one. I've got one here.
Have you got one in the workshop?
Yeah. We'll have to have a look at it. We've got one.
By the way, it's like we're talking about the family business for 50 years old. Has it always been in this location?
It started in this location.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Oh, that is fantastic.
She's beating us to it. That is cool, that.
That is mega.
Don't know what I was showing you for. You know what it looks like.
It's got one sitting in the garage.
Oh,
300 quid on Easy Live Auction. If anyone wants to go have a look, there's a free shout out if I've ever heard of one. But that looks mega. So why didn't your sister
She to be honest, she went off doing her own thing. She was in the cadets and everything. She ended up being a pilot. So she went and did that. She was teaching cadets how to fly planes at I think she wouldn't have been very. She would have been about 19, 20, and she did that. And then that's what she did.
Oh wow!
What's she doing now?
Now she's running her own business and everything now. But she did that, and then she she finished with that, and then went and did that.
You must be tempted, I bet you wanted her to be a commercial pilot so bad. I need a free lift to Daytona.
That'd have been pretty cool.
That would have been ideal. So, I want to talk a little bit more about your mum. So it's a case of, let's talk that timeline, because you've gone from 3-year-old doing a bit of grass tracking, wearing out Pee-wee tyres. When did your mum start there? Do I dare say, is calm down a fair comment to say?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, every time I was road racing, she never used to watch the start of any race. She'd always look away. She never used to want to watch any of that sort of stuff. And I think the real time when she decided, she got her head around it was, she always used to be panicking all the time. And it got to a point where I was like, Mum, you need to just let me do what I want to do. So I literally just said to her, I said, look, I'm doing what I want to do. If anything ever happened to me, I want to do this. So, and then from that point on, she was pretty laid back with it and whatever, because she knew I wanted to do it. Nobody ever forced me to do racing. I was never forced into going to race a bike or anything, which I don't believe in. I don't do that with any of my kids. If they want to do it, they want to do it. If they don't want to do it, then they don't do it.
Yeah.
It's they have to have their own choice. And I had my own choice, and it was something that I wanted to pursue. So, they just, they backed me all the way until I got to a stage where I could sort of do it myself and everything like that. And then that was it, really, to be honest. So, yeah, she sort of, I would say I was probably about 18, something like that. She really decided,
right,
he wants to do this. He's not being forced. So let's back him 100%.
In terms of ages then, so when you were, how many years would you have done sand racing before you, and then what was the next step from that?
I went from 9-year-old to 13, I just did motocross and the normal things that all people do, if they're into bikes, did that side of things. And then once I'd got to 13, I wanted to try road racing. I was only ever wanting to road race. So I did a championship called the Junior Road Racing Association. And that was on a Cagiva Prima 80. You basically got a road bike, turned it into this.
I've seen that. I've seen them before.
So
yeah.
James Toseland went through it.
Yeah.
Right.
Steve Brogan, James Ellison, loads and loads of people have been through
Was that like pre-Super Teens?
Basically, yeah.
sort of thing?
It was the one before Super Teens.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I did that for 2 seasons. And then, obviously, I did the Super Team route after that. So, yeah, that's where I started. And I can remember going out there my first time thinking, wow, when am I going to get my knee down? When am I going to get my knee down? I went out and everybody had got these whiz leather knee sliders. And I thought, I've got to get them down. I've just got to get my knee down today. I was at Three Sisters. And I can remember going around the last turn onto the start finish straight. Never ever got my knee down ever. And with these sticky leather knee sliders on. Got my knee down, pulled myself straight off the side of the bike. Because they obviously grip, don't they? They're a totally different knee slider to a plastic one. Just ripped me off the side.
I remember using that. I quite liked them.
I think you either liked them or you didn't.
I've never used one before.
I got given them and then I couldn't afford them after that, so I used them once and I thought they were quite good because you actually got a bit of grip. You could almost it actually pulled the front back round.
I think everybody wanted them. They were just like a bit of a gimmick then.
They don't use wood sliders, do they?
Yeah, I've had wooden sliders. Yeah, when I rode with Held, I went through in Valencia. I went through about 10 sets of knee sliders, and he posted us a set of wooden ones out. And honest to God, I thought the fucking engine head fell out the first time you touch it on the floor. It's so loud, but they're good. They are good, but they're very loud. They obviously last a lot longer.
I'm thinking about making them.
You could do.
Oh my God!
Unlimited supply.
You'll have them with the fucking tree bark still on, won't you?
No, think about it though. You know what I mean? What I do for a living. You know what I mean?
Just a wood slice on the side, just screwed on.
Oh Christ Almighty!
If you lend me some of that glue,
yeah,
right, that bit of Velcro, job's on.
We're done. We could go partnership.
We can go partnership.
I could
Josh,
no, I don't. I don't think I could afford the lawsuit for when it fucking comes off and hits someone in the head.
A bit of wood better than a plastic puck.
Yeah, but anyway, let's not get into the manufacturing.
No, we're going into business partners on this side of things.
I wish you all the luck, boys.
Probably set on fire.
What would your choice be? Just whatever you got in the van that week.
Could be. I'm trying to think. Oak would last a long.
You could have different compounds.
You could, couldn't you? Softwood, like cedar, and then you've got.
I mean, they obviously exist. In all seriousness, they obviously exist, but they're not that popular, are they? So the same with leather, they mustn't have cottoned on. Like everyone's plastic. I don't know if that's a cost thing or whatever, or whether it's like the best solution.
I think times just move on.
Yeah,
I think different riding styles and everything like that. I mean,
but you could make a wet one, couldn't you?
Mm.
You could just get a Dremel, just get your DeWalt drill out and just put a couple of tack screws in. There you are, it's raining. Imagine that on the side of the grid.
I feel like if we would have this conversation in 1960, you might have been onto something, but
I think they're sorted.
2025.
I think they're sorted.
I tell you what, please drop a comment in YouTube and subscribe, by the way. We get told off by Grace for not subscribing, so please subscribe. And if you want an order, get in touch with me and Ben, Wilson Motorcycles.
We'll sort you.
We're going to make this work. We are going to make this work. But let's go back to Ben Wilson. So, Sand Racing, motocross. What was your actual drive to go road racing? Was it on the telly in the house? Was you talking about it over the dining table? What was going on?
I don't know. I just think it was something that I always wanted to do. And then I used to love Kevin Schwantz. I used to absolutely love him. I went to watch him at the GP once and sat there all day just near the Dan Craner curve, just sat there waiting, watching every other class that I wasn't really interested in, just waiting for him. He came out, he did an out lap, did the warm-up lap and fell off on lap 1 at the hairpin. I was absolutely devastated and I think I cried the entire way home. I was so mad, honestly.
Have you met Kevin Schwantz since then?
No, I met him before that, but never. I think I was scarred. I was so mad with him for crashing.
You should never meet your heroes to say that. That is true.
No, I've never met him since, no.
No. Do you want to, though?
Oh, yeah, I would do, yeah.
Make this happen, man.
Could do.
Just make it happen.
Yeah. I think I might.
It's got to be done.
He might be a listener if you're listening.
Yeah, but like, so so you spent all day at Three Sisters trying to get your knee down. The leather gripped, boof, off you went. Like,
Yeah,
did it live up to everything that you dreamed of? There's a question.
Yeah, I loved it. I remember getting the bike the first time we got it. I went and picked it up from the man who ran that championship. We went and got a new bike. We was going to build an AR80, a Kawasaki AR80, and then we looked at it, and it was never going to be competitive. The bike to have was this Kajiva bike, so I was lucky enough that my dad could get me one of them. So we went and picked it up. When we found out where you needed to go and who needed to tune it and who did this and who did that, and then the first race I ever did was at Cadwell Park on the club circuit in the rain on a standard 80cc bike. And obviously, if you know, they don't really use that circuit anymore now, but you used to go down Mansfield and then turn left, and then you used to go down there and you used to turn right, back round the hairpin, then back up into turn one. So I remember going out.
Oh, the other way. Sorry, I thought you meant the other bit round the...
No, not that bit, the other
right.
bit. So you used to use the long bit. So I did that. And I remember I was a big lad. I was big back then. I was a porker. And I used to have...
porky?
Oh, I was big.
No. Okay, what's your best fighting weight you've ever been in your career?
68 kilos.
What was porky?
Yeah, but he's 13, so he might have been. He might have been 68 kilos then.
No. I don't know. I'd have probably been about at 13. I'd probably been about 12 stone, if not more.
Jesus Christ!
I was a big lad. Honestly, I was a really big lad, and I was like a sausage when I got in my leathers. I had to have help to get the leathers on me. I just didn't. You didn't know it back then. You know, it was just I wanted to go road racing. I didn't know anything about fitness, so I was just like, let's just roll with it. So we used to do that. So I remember coming out the hairpin anyway at Cadwell, and I went out of there first gear, second gear, started to rise up the hill, went into third gear, up to fourth, back to third to get up the hill. There was no upshifting going on. I was having to backshift to actually get this thing to pull up that hill. That must have been the weight I was. But anyway, so I did the first road race, enjoyed, loved it, was hooked. Said to my dad that night, I said, we've got to do something for tomorrow, Dad. I said, I'm having to go down gears down the straight just to get this thing to go. So we ended up, I was begging them to be able to tune it overnight, but obviously they couldn't do it.
Cooking a salad.
So they couldn't do anything about it. So we went off, and the next time we went to Darley was my second race. It was tuned, and I went there, and the TV people had picked up on it on our local news station. So they decided they wanted to go. My second ever race, they wanted to do this thing with me. And back in like, it would have been 95, 94, they put this camera on me. But it was in a backpack. It wasn't just like a little one, like a GoPro or anything like that. It was just a big camera which was duct taped on the tank, and a big backpack which was the battery.
How old were you?
I was 13.
His dad spent a fortune tuning this bike, and they've just strapped a lot of weight to it.
On me. So set off with this thing on, and I remember the thing just it came into the power band and nearly flicked me off the back. I wasn't ready for it at all. You know, this thing was it was a weapon. But yeah, just getting back to the road racing side of things, as soon as I started road racing, I knew that's what I wanted to do. That's all I was bothered about. Got doing it. So that was me. And then I was hooked ever since.
But what was your driving force at this point? Was it a case of, yes, you got your hook, you know what you want to do, but then where was the bar set for you at that point? You went, do I just want to keep riding? Or did you think, where was your ambition?
When I was at school, I'm dyslexic, quite heavily dyslexic. I'm happy to say that. It's not a problem to me. All the teachers used to say to me, Ben, all you'll ever be able to do is read the Sunday newspaper. That's the best you're going to really be able to do. And all I wanted to do was prove everybody wrong. You know, I wanted to race motorbikes for a living, and that's what I was going to do. There was nothing that was going to stop me. I was going to get to that point where I was doing that and just say to everybody, look at me now, screw you. I've done what I wanted to do. And that was, it was a big thing. Obviously you wanted to race, but you do want to prove people wrong. So I ended up doing that, and I did race for a living, and it was that. But that was my driving force, was to be able to prove to everybody that I'll be better than what you say I'm going to be.
Did you have any other doubts? So what age was that when you went, actually, fuck you, I'm going to make this work? What age was that? 13?
Yeah, it was as soon as I went road racing, I was like, I started by doing it, and then I was like, you'd look up to everybody. You were looking up at the back at then it'd be James Toseland on the whatever bike he was on. I remember going to the World Superbikes and seeing him doing that, and then I thought, if he can do it, why can't I do it? So he was like some 18-year-old, and he was flying, and he was kicking everyone's arse in the World Championship on the wild card and everything. You just think, fair play, mate. He's doing it. So, I wouldn't mind having a bit of that cake.
So, what age were you where the first paycheck came in from bike racing?
When I was riding for Vivaldi in 2006.
That's quite from 1995, is that right?
Yep.
2006.
Long time.
Wait. You know what? In it is and it isn't, isn't it? It's quite a short over a whole lifetime. But in the same breath, that journey. How many times did you actually think this isn't going to work, or did you ever have that mindset?
I think when you're on your way up. I mean, everybody goes through a phase when they're racing of you can't stop crashing. You don't know what it is. But we all go through it. You can't stay on the flipping thing. They always say, if you get if a fast rider stops crashing, they'll be fast. You can't get a slow rider to be fast. But a fast rider that crashes a lot, when they end up stopping crashing, you end up just with a fast rider. So, I was constantly crashing. I couldn't keep on the thing. And we were like, my old man would just be constantly like, he'd fix it every time for me. It would never be like, we're not going. You've crashed, you're not going. My dad gave me everything to be able to get me to where I've got to, and he sacrificed a lot for that. But, you've got to go through that stage of crashing to stop, and then one day you don't crash, and then you build a bit of confidence, and then you go again, and then you don't crash again, so you get a bit more confidence, and then you end up being at a point where you are, you're not crashing, and you start to win races, and then it starts to build, and then you win your first club race, and then you go, and then you get to be a big fish in a little pond at a club meeting, and then all of a sudden you go, I'm going to go British. So then you go British, and then all of a sudden you've gone from being this, somebody to being absolutely nobody. Literally from one race to the next, you are then you're nothing. You're under, everyone's overtaking you. You're in everybody's way. I remember one of the first meetings I did was at Cadwell Park. I did a stock 1,000 race, and DJ was out there. And when he was riding, the man was an absolute animal. I remember him shouting to me, "Get out the way!" at the hairpin at Cadwell Park. He was screaming, "Get out the fucking way!"
Never.
Yeah. And you didn't want to mess with him, so you just did. You just didn't. You didn't argue. You just moved out the way, And I think, some of the things that have happened in my career, stuff like that. When you actually look back on it and you actually think about it, is you've gone from being somebody, now you're nobody, but it's all part of the journey.
What was your journey through BSB? So I remember you. I'd say probably my earliest memory of you would be on the Vivaldi Superbike. Obviously, ages and stuff different on the, so, and then you obviously went on to do Supersport again, which is fair to say what you're probably most known for, your success in Supersport. But what was so you went club racing, did Super Teens, and then did you go on to like proddy bikes in club and then go BSB? Or
I went as soon as I finished Super Teens, I went on to, I did the Aprilia 250 challenge.
Right, okay.
I did that challenge with what Ian Newton was running, and then once I did that, I went and did a season on a 250 GP bike, just to club level, just did that. And then once I'd done a few of that, I did a few British, did Snetterton, which them lads there, on a GP bike were proper fast. Yeah. They were, like, back in the day, them, like Shane Norval and to name, there's so many, Jamie Robinson, all of them, and they were quick lads when you're like 18.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then once I'd finished doing that, we got a Sanyo Honda steel-framed CBR 600 off, one of the, I think it was Steve Plater's ex-bike, and I had that. And then as soon as I went four-stroke racing, that was sort of like, I liked that.
A change for you.
Because you would go racing a 250 with your dad, you won't get the jetting right. You'd seize the thing up, and then that would be the end of your weekend. And then all of a sudden, once you've got a bike where you just chuck a bit of unleaded fuel in, make sure the oil's full and everything's all right, you can just go, and you don't have to worry about all that sort of stuff. So that was what I wanted to do, and I really enjoyed riding that bike.
What about your dad, though? He's grown up with the 2 strokes and everything. Was he happy for you to hop on the Chelsea tractors?
Yeah, he was. He knew that we needed to go that route. It was
everything was headed in that direction anyway.
Everything was going that way.
I must ask, from a family bike shop, like this money, as we all know in sport, the faster you get, the more funding you need.
Yeah.
How was the family coping with that, if you don't mind me asking?
I think, to be honest, they made it happen. I was that age and what have you like that. I don't really know how they did it, but they did it. And obviously, I'm massively grateful for what they sacrificed, and my sister and everybody. Everybody sacrificed something for me to be able to do that. So.
What age did that hit home for you? It's like that point of a change of going, hold on, I realise what's properly going on.
It would have been. When you start to see like an invoice, something, and you understand it or whatever like that, and you see a set of tyres for £300 and you think, I've had 5 sets of them this weekend.
Yeah.
What age?
It's probably when you start earning money yourself. I always think it's about that.
It would be when you start, when you're working for something and you think, I'll get paid £100 this week, and you think, can't even buy a front tyre with that.
Yeah.
That's when you sort of think, where does this actually come from?
Pound, yeah.
I'll never forget that moment. My first job when I was 16, we were doing Superstock 600 for the first time that year, and I remember just being like, Jesus Christ, how have we been doing this for like 10 years? How did we get here? Because you start to earn some money and you appreciate it. You're like, fucking hell, that's real. You've gone from pocket money or nothing or whatever to school to work, and then you're like, shit, that's real money. Where's that coming from?
I know. We've all done it though, haven't we?
Yeah, but you wouldn't change. Like, I don't think you. Families would either, to be honest.
I personally never went down that route, and I've always just found that interesting.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. You did it very different, didn't you?
No, it was just very different in that way. But it's interesting now because obviously the sport. I feel I'm going to go down a bit of a political rant here, but it's like. It's turning more into F1 because obviously the way society is, and obviously the sport's getting more and more expensive regardless, but it's people with money almost like are stepping up, and it's almost like that the money's objective, and it's just like
we're not a rich family, we're just my parents worked hard, my dad's had this business, and I've been lucky enough to be able to do what I've done, but my mum and dad never spoilt me. I was never one of these kids that was like gets everything and everything like that. I remember loading the truck up when we used to go, and my dad didn't used to help load the truck up or whatever you like that. And I remember one day I thought, I'm going to ask my dad, why don't you ever help me like do this truck? Why don't you ever come and help me load this up? And I said to him, Dad, why don't you ever help me load this truck? He says, I pay for it, boy.
Yeah.
And I just thought from that point, I thought, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So I can do this. From that point onwards, I don't, you've just got to get your hands dirty. You've got to get stuck in. If you want to do something, you've got to make it happen yourself. You're not going to just get it handed to you on a plate. So, that was that.
Are you like that with your kids now?
Yeah, my kids, my son, my daughter, she's only 8, so you can't really expect her to prep her bike and anything like that. But no, my son is, he has to clean his bike at the end of a race meeting. He helps me prep the bike and everything, because I do think that's massively important. They need to know how things work, and to give feedback, for him to go forward in his racing and to do what he wants to do. He needs to understand how a bike works, and the only way you do that is by literally working on it. So
it's also a bit of it's a gauge of whether you want to do it as well, isn't it?
100%. If you want to get cold washing your bike, you've had the fun on the bike.
Yeah,
you've got to wash it. There's no.
You say about your daughter, like if your daughter was, banging on the garage door saying, "I want to, can I help?" You'd be like, "Oh, she's maybe taking this a bit more seriously than I thought." Like, so it is a good gauge.
She loves, she loves doing it. She's a very, very early. She's younger than what I was when I started.
Yes,
and she is, ultimate respect for her. She's going out there at 8 years old, and I remember how scared I was at 8.
Yeah.
So fair play to her. She goes out there every single race, And I sit her on the start line, I hold her up because she can't do the bike on her own. I put it in gear, and then I just send her.
You know everything that you've gone through, injuries, challenges with the family, and you're there with your little girl at 8-year-old. As a parent, what is going through your mind?
I think you have to disconnect yourself a little bit from the parent side of things, but I know that she wants to do it. If she came to me and she said, Daddy, I don't want to do this, I would say, no problem, sweetheart. We don't have to do this. If you want to do it, we will. You worry, of course you do. You worry all the time when they're out there. Once they've come in, even with my son, you do. You can't show it, but you do, because you worry. You know what they're doing. You've been there yourself. And I've been there, and I know how fast you're going and everything like that. But, as long as they want to do it, then I will give them that opportunity to do it, and we will do whatever we can do to help them along the way. So it's very nervous, obviously, when you get to the start line and you see that, you see people there she is on her little bike, and then you see lads that are a lot older than her. She's racing against 14-year-olds, and she's 8.
Never.
So the difference of
stature,
it's mindset and everything. You know what I mean? It's
the difference between
14 and 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she, I'm like, are you ready, baby? And she's like, yeah. And she wants to get out there, and she wants to get a helmet on, and then I get her all sorted, and me and my wife will be getting her sorted and getting her ready to go, and then she'll go up there, and I'll take her up there and send her on her way, and then and as long as she comes in with a smile on her face, that's all I'm bothered about. If she's smiling, I'm happy.
Here's a question, and you don't have to answer it. It's getting hot in here now, isn't it? We're getting billed for this. Obviously, we're getting billed for that. We're getting billed for the heating. We're getting billed everything. But no, I want to ask a bit of a personal question. Obviously, you and your wife, a boy and a girl. Do you treat your daughter different to your son racing?
Ollie is at the level at the minute where he is going out and he is doing well.
Yeah.
And he wants it. He really wants to go this route of the road racing side of things, and he wants to make something of himself in the racing world. So when we go racing with Ollie, he's there to win. We go with that mindset with Ollie that he's good enough to win. We want to win the championship. Whatever he does, he goes out there to give his best and to win. But with Tilly, she just goes there to enjoy it. So we don't, as long as she's enjoying it, we're happy. So if she finishes last, or as long as she's happy. Yeah. But Ollie, he wants to win, and he is not happy if he's not winning, which he's probably got a lot of that from me, because I think if you're not, I was always of the thing where I want to win. And I think he's got that a little bit from me, to be honest. So, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have. No. Not when he's got, he's quick for his age, and he's good. So he's obviously wants that to go that next step.
How much have you changed, do you think? That perfect example with the age gaps. That 8-year-old, your son at 8, having a go and having a giggle, and then all of a sudden you see a bit of a change in him. There's a bit of a bite. How much have you changed when that bite came along and you thought, shit, he wants it? Did you have to adjust your mindset?
No, because he's always been very much like that.
Right.
He started off, and we set Ollie off on a PW50, and then he got a 65, and then COVID came, and he missed a year of racing. We couldn't really do anything with it. We couldn't do anything with him, but he was desperate to go. And then when we went back racing, and then he started on his 85. He was too small for it. We got him a big wheeled 85, and he was only 10. So he was really, I used to hold him up, push him off, and he used to go, do his 4 laps, coming out to catch him. Everybody used to laugh. But we got him that bike because I couldn't see no point in getting him a small wheeled 85. I just thought, let's get him a big one, send him. So, and he managed it. And then he just worked away, chipped away. We did a lot with him. When in his early days, people used to say, "Oh, you need to be telling him to do this. You need to be telling him to do that," to really pushing it home to him. And I'm like, no, he's going out there and he's enjoying himself, and he learns when he's enjoying himself. When it comes to a point where I need to tell him what he needs to do, I'll tell him. But
you'll ask.
And then he would get to a certain speed, and then I thought, right, you need, I'll now start to help you. Obviously, I helped him all the way through. I taught him how to ride a bike.
Yeah, of course.
I taught him all the stuff to do it. And then over a period of time, he's got things off me, and he's learnt his way, and he's learnt his craft. And now he is he knows what to do. He knows, I'll do his gate for him at the start, but he knows that he needs to be getting his helmet on at this time, and he needs to be doing that at this time. He's building his own future.
Do you wish you had that? Because your dad did your dad race?
My dad did a lot of, he did. I think he did a season. I think he had a TZ 350.
Proper bike.
Yeah. And
I never had one. It's just every proper race had a TZ 350. Something you and me will never be, mate.
I've ridden one.
The rest of this whole generation will never be a proper bike racer until they've had a TZ 350.
I've ridden one. I wouldn't fucking thank you for one.
Yeah, he had a TZ, and he did I think he did one season, and I think he turned around he's told me this story before. He's turned around to himself. He said, "I can earn more money than I can racing a bike." So he didn't want to do it anymore. He was just sort of like, I'm going to get stuck into the business, and I'm going to go down that route,
Yeah.
So he did that, and then my granddad raced at the TT. He did that on a Valicet.
Oh.
So yeah, he did that on his Valicet.
Oh, so it's a proper
family thing, My granddad started off, I suppose, and then my dad did it, and then once I think it was just in my blood, and that was it. I was doing it, and that was me. So he did that, and then it was me, and now it's him.
But how much coaching was your dad giving you? So it's interesting that that transition was a little bit natural of going. You've become a bit more of a coach rather than we're going out for a giggle. Do you wish you had that?
Yeah. I didn't have that.
You didn't.
I didn't have that. I had to learn my own way. I had to do my own teaching. I did the Ron Aslan race school once, and I went round there and I did that, and they told me this, but they didn't really.
Did it help? Be blunt.
I wanted to ride a CBR 600, and that's the only place I could. That was basically why we went, just to see how I thought about it. I rode round with them, and I did all right. And I ended up working for Ron and Anne. So it was a bit, but it was that we just went there just to ride a bike, but it was a good experience. Of course, it was. Any time on a bike's good. So I enjoyed it.
But look at how fast forward, you're a team manager. You ran Gear. How long did you run Gearlink for?
4 seasons.
4 seasons. So you're the perfect person to ask this question to. It's like, how important and beneficial would it be to have a coach like now? If you could look back and say, if I had X, I could have had Y. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, I think it's good to have somebody current that's a coach. I don't think somebody that's racing in 1980 is a massive. They still the bikes. They're not that the riders back then weren't fast.
It's a different world.
It's a different thing completely. It's a completely different thing, but it's good to have a current coach, I believe. But they. If I would have had it, I would have liked it. Of course, I would. Because you've got something to bounce off each other, and you've got something to be able to, if you have a problem, you can say, what do I do here? What do I do there? What do I do this? What do I do that? So it would have been a massive help, to be honest.
Was there anyone in racing that because I think you do meet people along your way, don't you? And you people you sort of gravitate to, and they to you, and then they become like coaches without saying they're a coach. I mean, friends or the riders. Was there anyone in racing like that for you that you sort of come together with, or
and what age? Like that as well.
Yeah.
Great.
I think the first real sort of coaching I got was when I was with Vivaldi, and so it would have been 2005 on the ZX10.
So this is your first year in Superbike at this point?
Yeah, first year. I've done stocks and what have you before that.
So you'd gone into BSB. Sorry, we skipped that bit before. So you'd gone into BSB, done. Did you go in on 4 strokes? You went 600.
Yeah, I went in, did the Super Team, because that was when Super Teams was at BSB.
Was at BSB, yeah.
And then I did the 250 thing, which was also there. And then the first real time that I went back after that was when I won the Junior Superstock Championship in 2001.
Oh, right.
Oh,
so I won that the first ever year they did it. It was the first ever season they did the Junior Superstocks, but everyone was loose then. That was a good year. That was awesome. There was so many of us in it. It was they nicknamed it the Junior Suicides. It was fantastic to race in.
Who were the names in there?
Tommy Hill, Richie Cooper, John Kirkham,
Right.
Jonesy. So many good riders in that year, and it was fantastic. You know, none of us really had massive experience, but we were just a load of young lads racing in front of a massive crowd, and every single one of us wanted to win. Every single one of us wanted to win, and it was just I had Honda. Loads of them had the Suzuki. It was when you either had a CBR 600, GSXR 600, or the R6, and there was the Honda was good at a bit sudden, like it is now, but you've not got the experience to really do it. It's a matter of how bad do you want it? It's
pretty standard bikes and
bog standard, just a Micron exhaust on it and a set of fairings, and then you went racing. Some people didn't even cut the back off the where the number board. Richard Cooper, he used to run this flipping number board at the back, where your number plate went. It used to drive me absolutely insane. I used to be like, cut that number board off. But he didn't used to like the sticker that I had on the back of my bike. It just used to have my leather brand, but it used to wind him up, apparently. He told me. Yeah. But, it was so basic, so basic, but just great racing. Absolutely
Which is what them classes were always meant to be, weren't they? And I think in later years they moved away from that, really. But anyway, we're digressing. So first year of proper coaching, if you like, where you got some real support was when you'd won a championship. Yep. Obviously, people had realised you were fucking capable.
And then you jumped up to big bikes like that.
Yeah,
and
we
then
went to Stock 1000, did a bit of that on a in '99. Did that, then went junior Superstock. Then won that championship, and then went Supersport in 2002 and raced in that for a season. Then went Stock 1000 and then did 3 years, I think, in Stock there. Finished third in that championship, and then I was lucky enough to get a sponsor in Vivaldi, which everybody who knows anything about, BSB back then was Vivaldi Racing was quite a big thing. But it was a man. Unbelievable, sponsor and everything. He just came from nowhere. The man just, he wasn't even into bikes. My auntie worked for him, and he came into the shop here, and he just says, I'm Tony. Do you want, what? I hear you need some sponsorship. So he sponsored me in 2004. Just went on my own team, just sponsored me. He said, I'll give you 20 grand. So he gives me 20 grand. We went racing that year.
That must have been such a surreal moment.
Massive, awesome. People don't just do that. So he just came in and he said, "Yeah, that's what we want to do." So I finished third in that championship that year, and he said to me, "Ben, can you come into the office?" So I didn't know what he wanted me for. I went into the office and he goes, "I'm going to take you superbike racing, and you're going to win me my first BSB race." And I'm like, mate, this is a tall, but I'm thinking, you don't want to say no, do you?
You couldn't say no.
I had to do what I had to do, and I was like, I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So we went in, and he went big. He bought all these, he bought everything, truck, the lot, the Arctic lorry, ran 3 bikes, ended up running Scott Smart that year, me and Tristan Palmer it was.
I had no idea he came into the paddock through you. Yeah. I knew it was a big concern, but I didn't realise he was your sponsor. Right? Okay.
Did he buy an old team, or did he just buy everything new?
Bought everything else. Just went. He flew me and somebody else out to have a look at a Arctic lorry in Italy. Bought that, got it back. Realised it was 10 foot short. Ended up selling that thing. Bought another one. Went and bought a Vauxhall thing from some touring car team. Went and did that, got it resprayed, did all this thing. Everything was big. With Tony, everything was big. He was a great man. And he went big. So we did that year. And then I was with them for two seasons. But halfway through the first season, he says, "Ben, you need to come in." Because I was still learning the trade, still learning a superbike, doing this, doing that, doing the other. And then he pulls me into the office and he says to me, sits me down, and he pulls out this Sunseeker brochure and he just throws it in front of me and he says, "I could have bought a yacht with the amount of money I've spent on you. Why aren't you winning?" And I just sat there and I went,
I bet you weren't laughing at that point.
I just went to him, "Tony, I don't know what the fuck you want me to say to you." And he just turned me and he goes, "I like you, Ben," because nobody else would say that to me. And that was the moment then where I knew that man meant business and everything he was doing. So what, when somebody's going to spend that much money and just be like, give you a roasting and then be like, I like you. He saw a bit of belief in me and he was just like, no, I'll stick with you. And I ended up doing, went from there and did another season with him.
How old were you at this point?
21.
21. You're staring at a man who's thrown a brochure for a yacht on you, and you're just fair play, man.
What happened after that then? So, because they ran the Bridewell boys, didn't they?
Yeah.
Were you still involved with them then?
The next year that was in 06. I stayed with him again, did that year. And Scott Smart, Ollie was my other tick, so 3 of us. And then Tommy was on Supersport.
Ah, right.
And then we did that season and I had some pretty decent results. I just kept, progressing all the time, just kept progressing. And then we went on to Suzuki's that year and we did that season. And then I left at the end of that season and went on from there. And then I went down and did, what did I do then? R1 Cup. It just finished at the end of that year. And I don't know if it had run its course or why it really came to an end like it did, but it did. And then Ollie and Tommy stayed.
Amicably or?
Yeah, everything was fine. He didn't want to renew. He didn't want to renew with me, and that was that. So it was nothing personal, nothing like that. It was just one of them things. It's just part of racing.
Was that a bit of a bitter pill considering you didn't bring him into sport, but he came into the sport with you, and it sort of built around you? And
yeah, but it's racing, isn't it? It is. Racing's just like that. I mean, you can't be bitter because it's just one of them things. It's like such a cutthroat business. If you're not delivering, you're out. And if you can't accept that, then don't do it.
Fair enough.
100%. No, you're right. You're right. There's no way going around that. That's
the way it is,
right.
and that's the
Don't be getting any funny ideas, you team boss over here. Dude, don't be feeding out ideas.
But like R1 Cup, why that choice?
I think, to be honest, that's all we could afford because it went back to being fully paid.
I was about to say, were you getting paid?
Yeah, I was getting paid and everything then. And then it's sort of like, bang, that stops. So then you have to reassess and think to yourself, right, what am I actually going to do to get myself back to where I was? And Rob Mack did the R1 Cup. So we didn't really have enough money to do that, to be honest. So
were you still like living at home, family business?
Yeah. I was still living at home then. And I think, to be honest, I thought to myself, well, that's the only thing we can really afford. And I spoke with Rob, and he was keen to have me in it because, I'd done what I'd done the year before, and he was like, maybe a superbike rider in that class or whatever was good for it. So I did that, and you used to get this money for the whole shot into turn 1. But I said to Rob, whatever prize money I get, can I pay it off my ride? So I never got prize money that year. I just used to literally say, if I won or a second or whatever, it just used to go off the bill. But I'm telling you now, I made sure that I got the whole shot money.
You had no clutch left.
It was £1,000 for a whole shot.
And how much was the ride for the year?
Oh, I think
20 grand or something?
Something around there, plus the VAT. It was always plus VAT. So I remember every single time, it didn't matter if I ran wide, and 9 times out I did. But I would get that £1,000, whatever it was, I made sure I had it. So yeah, I always used to get the whole shot money. I used to think, yes, it's another bit paid off. Even if I was 6th or 7th after that, it didn't matter. I could pick my way back through. But I made sure I got it.
How many rounds was that? Was that all 12 rounds? Or
no, not all of them. Probably about 10 around that.
10 grand. So you were literally sitting there
I was just thinking, that's a bit paid off. That's a bit paid off. That's a bit paid off. So yeah, that's what I used to do every round. Made sure I got that. Things you do.
I love it. So, like, you did that season, you paid it off, and you thought, what happened at the end of that season?
Went, I'm trying to think now. I got a personal sponsor that came along, and I went to Gearlink. I went to Gearlink the year after that, so that was 2009. I went to Gearlink, and that was my first year going with them.
Was that on Supersport?
In Supersport.
They've done big bikes.
Yeah, they did. They did. 2014 they started that. But in 09, I remember I went there, and obviously, when you're on a stocker, Supersport's a completely different class to stock. Unless you're built with the stature of you are small. I went there and I was a stock rider, so I'd got a bit of shoulders on me. I was a bit, I'm not going to say fat because I wasn't, but I was just big. I'd got muscle. I'd got muscle mass and what have you like that. And I remember sitting down with Michael and Norma, had this long chat with him, and then the first thing Michael said was, "Ben, you're too big. You're too big for Supersport. You just are." And I was just like, "I'll lose it. I'll lose it." I knew I've always wanted to do Supersport. I was like, I'm desperate to do Supersport. Good team. They've got good bikes. I knew there was a new bike coming out the next year. The one they got wasn't quite good enough to do the job, but I knew there was this new one coming out, and I thought, I've got to be on it. I need to be on this bike. And I said, I'll lose it. And I went away, and Michael rang me back. He says, "Yeah, I'm going to give you the option. I'm going to give you the chance to go on it." And then it was massive, all winter, train. Got down to the weight I needed to get to, and then from there on.
What weight was that?
I think I got down. I wasn't as small as what I could have got, but it was the best I could do at that time. I think I got down to about, I don't know, 12 stone, 11 and a half stone, something around there. But it was enough to get the job done for my first season and everything like that. And that's when my Gearlink journey started.
So I would like to talk a little bit about Norma and Michael. Like, I know nothing about them. Absolutely nothing. Gearlink, huge part of motorcycle infrastructure, big part of history. What was their story?
They started
putting them on the spot here.
They started in 20... I think it was 05, I believe, ish.
Right.
With James Hillier in the R6 Cup.
Never.
Yeah, I think it was something like, I mean, Michael has told me this story, but I'm sure it's something like that. James put a thing out there that he needed some sponsorship, and Michael saw it from Gearlink and was like, "Yeah, let's go and help him." So they got this little camper, and I think they just went and did that with him, and then they did the R6 Cup, and then they went on to they put him in Supersport on a ZX6, and then from there onwards they'd got the passion for it, and they just went. Everybody knows what Norma was like. She was like the life and soul of that paddock, really. Everybody knew her. She was.
God. Yeah. But what is it like? As BSB does in these situations, they do a hell of a send off. The respect in it is phenomenal. And when we lost them, it was like, I didn't know them personally, but you could just tell how much of an impact that was. It really was humongous.
It was. It's bad times. Michael did very well to come back from that and keep going racing, because, the Michael that was before Norma went when she went.
Yes.
That was it. Michael was gone. The Michael that we all knew from racing went when she went, and he'll never come back. He is exactly the same as what he was when he lost her. He won't change. He doesn't want to change, and he will not change. So he is just now, as he would describe himself, just a shell, and that is what it is. So, but what a thing they've done. How many riders they've brought through that paddock, and everything.
I tell you what, we had a bit of crap before we came on the show, and it was just like the list of riders on great
serious numbers. Isn't it?
I feel like I'll be doing a dishonour if I try and name all of them, but my giddy aunt, like the Irwin lads, and it was like roughly. You were joking, 50.
There was a definitely. They did sit down once and try and work out how many they'd had, and I'm sure it was in the 50s that they'd had. But what that couple and that team have actually achieved, and what they've done for so many riders, is unbelievable. Really, both Irwin lads, they would say the same thing. They owe pretty much the majority of their career down to Gearlink because of what they're giving them the chance to be able to get them on the set, to be able to go that next step. They both of them would say that.
Where did, and it's a very rude question to be blunt, but where did the infrastructure come from with Gearlink?
Michael's business is literally 2 units that he reconditions car gearboxes.
Shut up, man.
That's what he does. He is
Gearlink.
Gearlink.
Did you not know that? I thought you knew that.
Yeah,
That's why I like this podcast, the things you learn.
Yeah, Gearlink is a manual car gearbox company that reconditions car gearboxes. And that is what, and Michael's just built it up. It started with a little 7.5 ton truck, and then they went and they got a little bit bigger one, and then they went a little bit more professional, and then a little bit more to till they got the Arctic, and then went from there, really, to be honest. And they've just gone over a period of time. They've just gone from strength to strength, and I don't think when they set off on this journey they really thought it was going to be like it ended up being, which was a massive undertaking and a massive team.
Yeah. And you need passionate people like that to like drive the sport forward, don't you? And even the riders that they're running and helping, it's all the indirect stuff as well. Like I know I've personally had help off them over there. We went to ask them to help us fix a gearbox once in 2013, and went with a broken gearbox, and I was like, off a ZX6, and I was like, you're the only person I know that might have this part. And he's like, I do. He's like, but I've also got a gearbox here. Like, just take it. And just lent me one, because we were going to go to somewhere down the road. We're brands actually going to go somewhere down the road and get it fixed, but we needed a part. I can't remember what it was now. And he just went, oh, don't fuck about doing that, and gave her a gearbox and was like, bring it back next week when he was fixing. Like,
that's the sort of thing that is the sort of thing that he would do. And Michael's a very generous man, you know, but like anything, people take the mick.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what happens, unfortunately. And it's like Michael, as much as he's put so much money into that paddock, you know, there's been so many people in there that took liberties on him and took the mick out of him, which is
happens all the time, man.
It just ruins it. It just ruins it. You know, he would help anybody. You know, if you give the gearbox back like you did or whatever like that, he'd help you every time.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the same when I ran that team. If somebody came to me and asked for something, you know, you would help them the best you could, but people don't sometimes do what they should do and what have you like that, and which is a bad thing, really, to be honest.
I think it's even worse now. I felt like it's definitely changed a lot, hasn't it? I don't know if it's because the money's got more and bigger or whatever it is, but definitely there's a lot more like, don't give them anything, like don't lend him a spanner, or like you would always lend someone something if they don't bring it back. Like that's the one chance, fine. That's in any walk of life, but it does feel a lot more like the competition between teams just feels a lot more brick wall, doesn't it, than it ever has, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just definitely the money thing. You know, that you've got to deliver. Now you have to. If you're not winning, you're forgotten about. That's so fast. It's unbelievable. You know, it's if you're not winning in any championship now, it's like people don't. You're not anybody if you're not winning. Yeah.
So on obviously once you went to Gearlink, how did you fare in that first year?
The first year we went to Valencia testing. Never really been there. Didn't know the track or anything. Went there, had a pretty average test. Did that, and then we went to round one. And I remember finishing that test, and I said to Michael, "Don't worry, I'll be on it at round one. I'll be on it at round one. I need to get to the tracks I know." Got back to round one and had a pretty decent qualifying, was somewhere there or thereabouts. And I remember Michael saying to one of the lads when we took off at the start, he goes, "Oh, Chris is leading." And he was like, and then Michael goes, "That ain't Chris that's leading, it's Ben." I remember leading my first ever Supersport race in my first one at Brands Hatch.
He's like, bollocks, you don't get full shot money for this one.
I remember, so I did. I got into it, and it was something that I desperately wanted to be successful at in Supersport. That was the class I wanted to do. So I did put everything into it, and I led my first Supers, and then the engine blew up. Yeah. So went from being right there to sat in the paddock. But I knew it almost, as much as I didn't get the result, I was like, "You can do this. You can do this. This is your class. You've led that. So, there's no reason why. We'll get the engine fixed. We'll go to the next one, and we'll build and we'll build and we'll build." And that first season I ended up finishing fourth in that championship. I went all year that year with the same pair of grips on the bike. I never crashed it all year until the last round.
Oh, no way.
And I had the same grips on, and they were all moulded perfectly. I'd got finger marks in the pair of grips. So there you go, full season without crashing.
Until the last round.
Then the bike was obliterated.
Where was the...
Silverstone. Out of turn one.
Ooh.
Out of turn one, straight into the next left.
Oh, the fast left, yeah.
Just going down there, and a back marker, instead of turning left, turned right. Took my front clean out. Bike was just absolutely obliterated.
How was that when he got back? It's like were you getting? Did he get? Talk me through that when he got home. It's like, I haven't crashed all year.
I remember that it was in warm up.
Even worse.
Cardinal sin to crash a warm up.
It is high.
Yeah. So I came back, and I thought that bike's not good. And Michael just went, "Me and you, truck now." And I thought, I ain't crashed all year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've not done any. I've only done this one, and it wasn't even my fault. But yeah, he ripped me. He ripped me to bits that morning just purely because I'd binned that bike in warm up, which rightfully so. I shouldn't have been in that position, but I didn't know he was going to turn right instead of left. So it was one of them. But I've got massive mutual respect for Michael, so I took it on the chin. We went out in the next race, and I got wiped out again by Paul Young at the hairpin.
Right, all right. No, but, okay, yeah. Right. No, but you've come back in. Let me talk. I like this team management element. No, you know what I mean. It's the things that you learn from. But what happened to you there? So you got wiped out. Was it a bit like not your fault, or?
Well, I don't think it was my fault. But
hold on. We've gone from very confident that wasn't my fault. But hold on. Your Honour. There's two sides to this story.
We need to start asking him about being a team manager, and
I know that's what I'm looking forward to on that side of things. But we've got a lot of racing to get through.
Yeah.
But did he? What? So.
He saw it that I shouldn't have been in that position. I shouldn't have been where I was on the track, and I should have backed out of it. But I was probably on a hot lap or something, and I just wanted to pass him. So I just wanted to get past, and that happened. But it was big. The crash was big, and the bike literally the only thing that could get out of it was the engine, and that was it. The rest of it was totaled. But that was back in the day when you had a spare bike, where you could have spare bikes then. But it don't make it any better.
How would you class your riding style up to this point?
Different. At that point, my riding style was so different to everybody else's. All the way through my career, I was told, getting your elbow down, totally wrong. Totally wrong. Nobody rides like that. Now everybody's riding like it. Everybody gets their elbow. I'm not saying I'm a trendsetter by any means, but I was doing it, and everyone was saying to me, oh, it's all totally wrong. You shouldn't be getting your elbow down. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be hanging off the bike. And what have you like that. But so my riding style totally unique at the time. Or I used to want to know where that bike was. I used to move the bike so I knew where it was, so I could feel the bike moving underneath me. If it wasn't moving, I didn't like it. Just the way I rode. It was very actiony, very wanting to feel what the bike. I'd got massive feel on that bike where people was like, oh, you just get hold of it and you just rag it. It's not like that. It might look like that, but it's not. So that's just how I liked it to be, but definitely different to everybody else that I was racing against.
But with that, in your competitor's shoes, would you be classed as aggressive?
Yeah.
Do you want any time to think about that?
You did have an aggressive style.
I was very much. I had to be in a certain mindset when I raced. People would not want to approach me. People used to say to me, "He's so arrogant. He's so arrogant." But I wasn't never arrogant. I just was probably I was shy, and I didn't want to talk in some aspects. But when I got onto the bike, I used to have to get myself in a mindset where I was very much, don't mess with me, don't talk to me. I'm very straight down the line. I want to get from my motorhome. I want to get on my bike and I want to go and win that race. And that's all I ever thought about. Didn't want to talk to people when I was going on that bike. When I was at my best, I only wanted to just be focused on what I was ever doing, and people would probably read me wrong, which that's the way it was. I didn't mind back then, but it's a totally different person to what I am away from racing. I'm not that person when I'm there.
I've got a very funny story about this. So, and he knows what I'm going to say. When I was 15, I was racing 125s, crashed my brains out. Dad goes, I'm not fucking riding that anymore. It's costing a fortune. He's like, we'll do 600s, but I couldn't ride until the next year. Couldn't go anywhere because he wasn't old enough. Couldn't do a track day, couldn't do anything. Got in touch with Chris Walker. He'd just done his race school. And he's like, yeah, you can come here. You can ride here, no problem. And Chris, to be fair to him, went on to help us massively after that. But, so it turns up, I was shitting my pants, right? Turned up at Mallory Park. There was, at the time, he had loads of BSB lads that he'd doing all the coaching and everything. Chris was like, right, yeah, no problem. So the plan was I was going to do like 5 or 6 days of these race schools. All standard ZX6s. And he's knocking 7 bells of shit out of Alistair Seeley on the TV every week. And he goes, I'm going to put you a Ben. And he was like, I was like, Dad, I want to go home. And we must have done about 250 laps around Mallory Park for the next 3 months or something. And he was fantastic.
There you are. Brilliant.
You've done a bad job.
Soft as clarts. Wouldn't have thought he was an angry man at all.
Yep.
Until the next weekend.
Aye.
Yeah. And then you're like, fuck.
I tell you what, Josh, you've perfectly timed this. Along came a spider called Seeley. Let's talk. I tell you what, me and Grace were like, we jumped out the van and stuff like that, and you were like, "Oh, what do you want to be talking about, guys? We're going to bring it up." Seeley goes, "Like, I've got over that. I would have you." And he goes, "No, I've still got a bite. So let's talk about it." I tell you what, looking back, did he enjoy it?
What a year!
Yes, let's
What
talk
a year,
about it.
really. Yeah, I didn't win the championship by 1 point. I lost it by 1 point. That was a roller coaster of a season. Amazing season. Me and Alistair would treat the first lap like the last lap. Neither of us wanted the other one to lead a race. It was only,
and this is all season long.
This was that year in Supersport. It really was just the Wilson and Seeley show. There was nobody else. Nobody else got a look in. There was just me and him all year. So all through practice at every single meeting, you would be looking. Where are they? He'd be looking for me. I'd be looking for him. No toes. No nothing. There'd be not a single, there was no love lost, but massive respect for each other. That really, I'm not going to say I don't respect Alistair Seeley. Massive respect for him. Because that year, he made me the best rider I could be, and I made him. If we weren't on our A game, we weren't winning. And that was how that season was the whole year. So to be part of it was amazing. And I just wish I'd have scored 2 more points.
Yeah, but when you're in that mindset, you're just willing to knock them off.
As much as I would say, yes, I'm massively aggressive, I am not dirty. I'm not a dirty rider by any means. I would never fetch anybody off because it's just the lowest of the low. Everybody knows how dangerous that sport is.
Yes.
And nobody needs an arsehole like that.
No.
So, I'm aggressive. I'll make a pass, and if there's an inch there, I'll make it 2. But not dirty. Never would be dirty. Not a chance.
Do you regret not being a little bit dirty?
I think we should rule this before we let them finish that question.
We're going to have a trip down memory lane.
So this would have been 2011, wasn't it?
Yes, this would have been 2011, yeah.
2011. Who would have commentated this? Jack Burdicle?
Yeah.
Oh, you see. Happy days. Right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This was the first year there was 2 races, wasn't it?
Yep. This was the Saturday race.
Yeah, I remember this. I fell asleep.
This was the Saturday race, yeah.
Right, here we go. Jesus. You're not kidding about the bike moving, are you?
Yeah, I loved it moving. If it weren't moving, I didn't like it.
This is the last 2 laps.
Last 2 laps. This bit here, I just was so fuming that he took me up the inside there. I was so mad. Not good.
Where are you thinking now? Where are you thinking I'm going to go?
Both of us was leaving black lines on 600s fully sideways out of that corner every single lap. Now I'm thinking to myself, I've got to get a run. I've got to get a run on him. He's obviously defended massive there.
What did you have in your head here? Where did you think you were going to pass him?
I wanted to line him up for into turn 1 here.
See, I think that's a bit naughty, that.
You are
this bit here, I knew he'd run wide. I thought I'm having this at all costs.
Jesus.
And then we just had a little bit of a tap there, but there's nothing malicious in that. It's just that I wanted that bit of tarmac and he didn't want to give me it.
You're not in a court of law here, It's Chasin The Racin. You can be honest, Don't worry. You're on it. I only hit him a little bit. Don't worry about that.
But you couldn't make a mistake. Between the two of us, you can see both of us. The other one can't get away.
Massively different styles.
Totally.
Seeley doesn't look like he's doing anything, but you are making that work, mate.
Yeah.
Boof.
There we are, just a little bit of there. Just a nice little.
I tell you what, you moved your front wheel there, mind.
Yeah. But this bit, I remember going into it thinking to myself, I can't go wide. I'm going to go with defensive. Good move. We've still got a lap. Good move this was around the outside.
Jesus Christ!
Just massively too defensive. I went there, and then that cost me. This was, I remember this. It was a really good race, to be honest.
Look at that. There's literally so no one else in shot. No, there was no one in shot.
And this was week in, week out, every single week.
I like it. Just a bunch of bike fans watching bike racing on a podcast with like
the silence is good.
The silence on this side of things. I feel
what are you? Talk us through this last lap. Then where are you thinking?
He's riding so defensive, massively defensive into it, and yet, you know, he's got every angle covered. There's not a massive amount of, you know, because he is very good at riding defensive.
But did you sit at this point halfway through Brands Hatch lap? You think I can still do this?
Yeah, I thought to myself, if probably. Could try just into Dingledale or across that bit. I wasn't strong. Just out of there, I just lose a little bit. Just lost a little bit every lap just coming out of there. So I knew this point in the track was not going to be somewhere I could.
Well, after Westfield, you've got like 2 chances now.
So now I'm thinking, I've got to have a, you know, I need to try and have a go, but I just lost that little bit coming onto the back straight. And when you're as close, as equal as what we were, to get that little bit back is so difficult. So I never massively got another, you know, I knew into here now. I thought, I've not got this.
That's your major chance there.
That's it gone. But then I thought, I've got one chance. If he has any slides out of the last turn, I'm going to go wide out of here. And I use a massive amount of track where he drives defensive. And I thought, I'm going to try and keep the speed up. And when he goes across, I'm going to go to the inside now. And then to try and beat him to the line. But I had a little slide and I couldn't quite do it. But I mean, there's nothing massively in it.
Jesus.
Would help if you're both on 750s, wouldn't it?
So
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Bloody hell!
But yeah, great race that was. It was a. You know.
Honestly, I remember that Saturday because
that was.
It was when they just started doing the Saturday race. I was riding a 125 for Apple Yards, and Jack was on there 600. And I'd gone back to the camp and I'd fell asleep, missed the race. I come back in the garage and everyone was like buzzing. Then I thought, Jack must have got on the box or something. They're like, no, I fucking just missed the best race of the year. They were like, Robin's trying to rewind it to like put it back on. It was class.
It's great year. Absolutely, you know, amazing year. I've got sweaty palms now.
just thinking about it. So, like, what, like that following year, what was the game plan?
The following year,
yeah,
just hit that lock button, Dom, so we'll get rid of Seeley.
Yeah, he's banned. The Seeley free zone now.
Yeah, that year, the end of that year, we pretty much just thought to ourselves, we're going to roll on and just try and do it again. It was just you know, we'll go again and see where we go, you know. Yeah. But the following year, that was not that. Just, you know, when you just get years that just don't happen. It just didn't happen for me.
Yeah,
I got one race win and I finished wherever in the championship, nowhere. But I only got one race win, and I don't really know why, because I had the same trainer, I had the same this, that, the other. You know, everything was, but it just didn't happen. So 2012 was pretty much just like one of them, just a year. You know, just is what it is. And then we became teammates in 2013. Me and Alistair.
How did that news get presented to you?
I personally think that was, Michael's quite shrewd. He knows how to get the best out of me and what have you like that. And he knew that Alistair was quick, and he knew that I was quick on my day. And the best way to get someone fired up is to probably put your main rival as your teammate. So he rings me up and he just says, we're running Alistair, it's going to be a great publicity.
Was this before Christmas? After? I'd like to see if it ruined your holiday.
To be honest, I can't remember when it was, but that's what was happening. And to be honest,
come on, no. Hi Ben, Mark here. Yeah, mate. I hope you've had a good Christmas. Yeah. No, the kids are good. Yeah. Anyway, mate, Seeley's your teammate.
Bye.
Then it's probably there probably was a silence, and I just was like, right, okay. And you know, but I think it's one of them things. It's like the decision's made. You either let it affect you, or you pull some, you know, gives you some serious motivation. So the motivation was there to go again. So we did that year, and I had an all right year. You know, I had some wins. Definitely, you know, I did the double at Knockhill, and I did a double somewhere else and what have you. But I think it was Alistair and Stuart Easton that were the main two. You know, I was winning races, but I think I just had had an engine blow up here, or this there, or that there. Just didn't quite
line up for the championship on that side.
So and then the last round I fell off at coming out of the last turn and broke my leg. So that ended that. You know, I never, you know, that was the end of it. But, you know, I had a good year that year, and there was a massive he will admit it as well, there was a definite divide in the garage. It's like there was no talking to each other. It was just like business. We just literally came into the garage. He wouldn't speak to me. I wouldn't speak to him. And we just went out like two different teams. No data sharing. No, nothing. There was no...
Really?
No, there was no data sharing.
How did Michael and Norma take that? Were they upset about that, or was that exactly what they were after?
I don't know if they were upset about it. It was a different atmosphere from every other year they've done it, because they've obviously had one doer and then one rider that's been brought on to be the next
doer. Yeah.
So, but when you've got two doers and neither of them want to share data and neither of them want to see the other one win, if he went out and he went pole, my helmet was on and I was back out. If I went out and went fastest, his helmet was back on and he was out. Neither of us wanted to be second to the other, which in a team's thing is great. You're both just absolutely thriving for both of your riders to be at the front. And it worked. He got the best out of me. And it was, when you look back on it at the time, you're just like, I want to beat him. I want to beat, you want to beat anybody, but the first rule is you beat your teammate because he's on the same bike as you. And you want to beat him. So it was you stood on the podium and he's beat you. You're just like,
twat.
But at the same time, at the same time, when I beat him, he would be the same.
Of course he would be. Yeah, of course he would be.
And that is just how it is. But it's just part of the journey.
There we go. And speaking of journeys, when did road racing start to get on your calendar? Because obviously your granddad did the TT and everything like that. Was that always an ambition to go down roads, or how did that transition happen?
I decided I wanted to try the TT. I was going to do the TT, and I'd done. Let me think how this went. 2015, I wanted to do the Northwest, so I did the Northwest. I had the best racing ever. So good.
Why did you do the Northwest? Was this when you did it with?
This was on Gearlink. This was a
Gearlink. It was always Gearlink.
So you only rode a 600.
2015 was me and Glenn. First, both newcomers. Both newcomers into that in that year. I wanted to do it, so we made it happen, and me and Glenn went and did it. He rode a 650 as well, getting a little bit more track time. I just went on the 600. Yeah, that's all I wanted to do. Just wanted to go. I had the best racing week of my life. It was just so good. I don't know if it was just like the atmosphere, the surroundings, everything about it was just.
It feels naughty, doesn't it?
It's just like you just go down there and you just think to yourself, you're flat out down a public road and you just think, yeah, you can't buy this. This is just so cool. I remember waking up that morning the first time I was going. No, actually, I'll go back to something else. I'm signing on. I go and sign on, and they give me a complimentary whiskey glass and a whiskey, and I just thought to myself, I'm like, this is serious road racing.
It's classic.
They're giving out whiskey as a signing on gift. So do you have this now, or what do you do with this? So I get back and I'm like, guess what I've just got signing on? They've given me a whiskey. So I was just, it was obviously, it's so dangerous. We all know how dangerous the roads are. It's just like,
I tell you what, that was one of the best. It's one of the best wake up calls ever at the Northwest. We've all done it in this room, and you just wake up around about 9 o'clock, and you're walking about the paddock at 9 o'clock. Bing bong. Can riders Glenn Irwin, Michael Dunlop, and she goes through the whole list of riders, but maybe 2 or 3. Can you all attend signing on for a breath test? It would have been easier for her to say,
who doesn't go?
Josh Corner, Dunlop, you just stay there. Everyone else get lined up, and you're in this morning queue at 9 o'clock before you're going out going, all right, lads, and that's the only time you meet each other properly, isn't it? It's proper strict.
But I remember, that you was on about the Bing Bong.
Yeah.
That came on. Just can riders go?
For your drink there.
Oh no! It's like roads will be closing at such and such. I tell you what, the first time I shit myself.
Really?
Honestly, it was like first practice. We're going out for the newcomers lap. I've got Steve Plater there. He's like, all right, Ben, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
I've made some mistakes here.
I'm like, I'm shitting myself, mate. We're just about to go. So I'm flipping sat there, nervous as anything, not talking. People were probably thinking I was being psyched up. No, I wasn't being psyched up. I just couldn't talk. Then I've got Glenn in my ear like this. Bip, bip, bip. Chat. Because everyone knows what Glenn's like. talks for England, but he was still talking for England. He was pumped, ready for it, and what have you like that. I was so nervous, and we went out on the first practice session of the newcomers thing. I get 2 laps in, a stone straight through the rad, because you're the sweepers, aren't you? First lot out there, you're sweeping it for everyone else. Stone straight through the rad, have to sit it out. Don't get that. The next one, straight out into the first practice on, when you're on your own. And in that time, you know what it's like in Northern Ireland. It's gone from lovely sunshine to absolutely teeming it down with rain.
Oh.
So I'm like...
Hold on. It doesn't rain in Northern Ireland. The sun sweats.
The sun sweats.
The sun sweats. It never rains in Northern Ireland. The sun sweats. There you go.
So we're going down a public road, and we all know what the bikes get like there. It's like a motocross track in the wet, and they're so minging.
Yeah.
So I've done my first practice session in the wet, and it's not... I'm not going the best because of it, obviously what it is, and you only get 2 practices before you race.
Because you were just doing Supersport.
Yeah,
with
only did
Gearlink
Supersport. So then it was like, after that, I didn't have the best of practices in the wet. Then it went dry. So in the dry, sort of got my head into it, got going, got going pretty quick. But I missed out in the first wave because obviously it went wet first, and then wet, and then dry first rider.
Combined times.
And they staggered it, and I missed it by 1 place. So I was fuming. I was in the second wave. I was so mad.
This sounds like my week.
Because I wanted to go with the boys to try and learn. Because I didn't really know where I was going. So I got there, and then I'd done. So the first race comes along, and I'd never done flipping station corner flat yet. Not done it flat. I kept going up to it.
On a 600?
Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, I've got to do this flat. I've got to do this flat. I've got to do this flat. So first lap, I did it flat. But all weekend I was going up to it going, I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to do it this time. And then it'd be, no, what are you doing? Just do it flat. But I couldn't, it was just, I think it was just brain to, it was totally different to what I'd done. And I only had the wet practice, and they did the other one,
You needed a Dominic is what you needed.
Just needed. But it was like, I did, at the first race, I left everybody in the second race, and I'm just on my own for the 5 laps or whatever it was, just on my own. And I think I finished something like 9th, which was all right from the second.
Yeah, no, brilliant.
Would have been so much better if I would have been in the first wave.
For a start.
I didn't know really where I was going, but you know what it's like there. So then you have your day off. I was pumped after that. And then the next race, obviously on the Saturday, I only had the 1 race again. And I think I finished around about the same sort of place again. But obviously Glenn had his really good week. So that in the team was like the focus. But I didn't think it was a bad sort of top 10 first time out.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was, amazing track, amazing people. Everything was just amazing about it. So loved it.
Because you're still involved, aren't you?
What with? The Northwest? No, I was. I did.
I did. Say for years,
I did used to do the newcomers.
That's right.
And it wasn't. They got me to do that, not because I was like this big shot, done everything at the Northwest. It was because I knew what it was like to be nervous. I knew what it was like. I knew what you needed. Oh, I forgot my drink spot. Where do I go to get this? Where do I go to that? If you get somebody like John McGuinness, that his newcomer things was 20 years ago or however long. He's forgot what it's like to be a newcomer.
Yes.
I still knew what it was like to be a newcomer. So that's why they got me to do it, not for any other reason. And it worked.
It did,
for that reason and that reason alone, really, to be honest. So, yeah, I enjoyed doing that. I did that, but I did that when I was obviously smashed up after the...
Well, let's talk about that, because how many years of the Northwest had you done before your unfortunate accident?
It was my second year. It's my second year there. So I'd done the first year, absolutely loved it. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Did that. And then it was the next year, 2016.
So at this point, you've done a whole another season because road racing's quite.
Yep.
It's very early in the season,
yep.
And then you've built that into the plan. You've talked to Norma, Michael. You've got everything lined out.
Yep.
Happy days, no problem.
That year,
that year.
That was the year 2016. I didn't carry on with Gearlink. That was the year I didn't race with them. I raced for EHA on an Aprilia in stock 1000.
Yeah, that's what I remember. I was thinking, what year was that year?
I went with them, but I still had my Gearlink ride for the Supersport class in ready to go for the Northwest to do the Superbike. and the Supersport with Gearlink Superstock on the Aprilia that year. So that's when we went and did that. So
lined it up. Right, let's just delve straight into it.
the bit that everybody likes.
Yeah, no, like I say, me and Grace had a bit of a preview on the pre-crack, so Josh, buckle up, son, this is going to get good. So let's talk about that. So how many laps were you in? What practice?
So we done the Supersports first in it normally. So I did Supersport, did that practice, did Superbike, did that one, and then
Bet Station was a bit more fun.
Yeah, it's good. Do you know what though? You know I was saying about you don't do it flat. Been away for a year, went back the following year.
First lap,
bang done.
Yeah,
and I was thinking,
on a
what are you
stocker,
doing?
That's why I'm looking at you rolling on a 600.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, but what was the problem? And then the stocker, you're the same, and it's like, what's the deal?
I know.
You know, but I think it was you have to do it that first time.
Yeah, 100%.
So, so getting back to it. So I did them 2 classes. Quickly burned back to the motorhome. Got changed. Got the other leathers on. Went back. Super Twins were out. Then it was Superstock. Did the... went out. Did the session. No problems like that. Come in, change some gearing. Did all the normal stuff that you do in that session. Trying to get as much done in the first session as you can. Ready for the next one. Went out. Went for a lap. We'd had a few not problems, but like the gearing wasn't right, this wasn't right, that wasn't right. So the session was messy. It was a messy session, sort of like for changing a lot of stuff where you just want to get laps.
Yeah.
So went out and I did the lap, and I did 3/4 of the lap, and into the last chicane I ran on. But the time that I'd done through the other 3 sectors would have been good enough to put me somewhere where I'd have been like, I'm happy with that for the first day. Let's go, let's can it there, and then that'll do. So, went straight on. I had to go through the chicane thinking, I've not got a lap yet. I haven't actually got a lap on the board. I've got to get one. Looked up, about 2 minutes of the session left. Hardly anything left. Just got over the line. I thought, I'm going to have to go again. So I went again. Got the coast road done, into there. Comes to Mill Road roundabout. Going into there. Gone from whatever gear I was in. Gone down the gears, dun, neutral, false neutral. I'm thinking, can't get it in gear, can't get it. Nothing wrong with the bike, nothing like that. It just wasn't up. You just
bear in mind you are absolutely on the anchors, like
flat
250 yard mark.
So I can't get into first gear. So I'm into that. I'm not going to stop. I cannot stop. I took the front, hit the roundabout, hit the curb with my leg. It throws me over the top of the roundabout. Bang, land on the floor, the other side. And I'm looking there,
that roundabout, I'm not even exaggerating, is around about 6-7 foot tall.
Yeah.
Like it's
not, a massive roundabout.
It's not just a little mound. If you look at that footage, it's a roundabout, and then they put a mound on top of it.
It might as well be a fucking brick wall.
It might as well be a brick wall, exactly.
So I took the front, hit the curb with my knee, bounced me over the top, land on the floor. And my first thoughts, I landed, and my first thoughts was, I'm not dead.
Yeah.
I'm not dead. So I'm still here.
Yeah.
So, but then I'm just laid there, and I look down, and I can see my leg there, and I can see
underneath your chin,
under my chin, and I can see it, and I can read the brand Daytona.
Nice shout out, by the way.
Which is my, they sponsored me, so I can read my boots. And at that point, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with my leg being there. I've got no pain at this point, but I cannot deal with my leg being there. So I got hold of my leg and I literally threw it, and it went down, and it was at a weird angle. Don't get me wrong; it was facing the wrong way. It was bad, but my mind could sort of process it because it was sort of where it should be. There's 2 legs there. I could sort of deal with this. And then I look down and I see this, like the yellow fat when it's really deep cut, and an absolutely shattered bone. And there's no blood, there's no nothing. It's just my leather's ripped open, no blood, and I can just see everything. And then, just like that, the blood just goes and spews out. And I grab my leg, squeeze my leg so tight. And the marshal came up running over to me. He goes, are you all right? Are you all right? And I went, pass me that bit of rope. The bit, because on every road race, they've got the things across. Road close. I said, pass me that bit of rope. So he gets the bit of rope, and he comes back, and I took my glove off, and I got the rope, and I tied it round the piece of the rope that I've got, and I got my glove and I wrapped it around and I twisted it, and I made like this tourniquet, and I just twisted it and 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 got it like, so it wasn't stopping the blood, but it was doing something. And the bloke comes over to me and I went, "You need to get somebody here right fucking now, because that is seriously bad," you know. And then obviously the red flags went out, and then they come flat out to me. Medical people were fantastic, unbelievable, you know. So I'm there, I'm pissing blood out everywhere. It is going, you know, it's bad, and I'm thinking, all I can think about is my family, the normal things you think about.
You're thinking, I've lost my leg.
Yeah, I'm in a bad way, you know. So I'm like, oh Jesus. So they come. The ambulance, you know, gets to me, and then all of a sudden it's like they run over to me. They're like that, and then this I can remember this nurse or paramedic or whatever pulls this syringe out, bang, this big ass needle, and just goes poof into the leg, ketamine, bang, and I just go boom back. But everything went bright, and I just thought, fucking done. I'm out of here.
You thought you were dead.
That's it. That's me done. I thought, and that's it. I'm done.
Now hold on. Clarify. You think you're done with race, or you thought you were dead? I
thought that's me out. I'm just, you know, you get every emotion, you know, the guilt. You shouldn't be doing it. I was thinking about my wife that's 5 weeks pregnant. You know, everything goes through your mind when that's happening. You know, and you know, it's horrendous. It's horrendous. You know, and I wouldn't ever wish that on anybody or whatever. But yeah, it's horrible. You know,
you were done racing. You know, that's it.
You know, so I you know, that was that point, and then obviously it was a matter of, right, we'll take you to hospital and we're going to see how bad everything is. They knew it was bad. They put this thing around it to pump it up to stop the bleeding and all the stuff they do. You know, at that point I'm a little bit out of it and I don't really know what's going on with it then. So they get me to this hospital. They took me to Anthony Galvin, because apparently when all the troubles was going, you know, when everyone was getting their legs blown off, that was the place to take you. That was the place that you go. So I've gone there with them, and they've got me in this unit, and I'm in there, and you know, my wife's there, and she's, you know, taking control of all, you know, everything that's going on with the
You're
doctors.
5 months pregnant as well. Yeah, God love it.
Yeah, I know. You know, when I look back on it, what she went through is unbelievable, and she's so strong. You know, so strong to have gone through it and everything like that. And I gets there, and they take me down to theatre, and they say to her, like, if we're I'm sure this is out, you know, I can't remember the time periods of how it was, but if we're any longer than 4 hours, we're fixing his leg. We're going to fix it, you know. So I thought, you know, at that point we all just thought, rod it, get it done, and then that's him. He's good to go. So something like 8 hours, something like that, passes by. So she's thinking to herself, they're fixing it. You know, they're fixing his leg. He's just going to have a rod in it, and then, you know, 8 weeks, whatever, keep the rod in, and that'll be him fixed. And something like 3 o'clock in the morning, she sat there waiting, you know, with me and what have you like that. And the surgeon comes in and says, we're going to have to brace him tomorrow to sell him. That we're going to have to remove his leg. And she's like, what you said if you were over, she said, it's literally like somebody's got a glass bulb and dropped it.
Just bone.
There's so much bone, so much. It's just such a mess. There's so much stuff in there. We've had all that time. We've just been cleaning it. There's so much road debris. There's so much of everything in there. So much bone. So we get in there, and she's distraught, as you would be. You know, she's there on her own. You know, and she's been told that. So, and you know, how she got through that. So this doctor comes in and speaks to me, and he's telling me that we're going to have to look at removing my leg. But he says, we think we can probably try by getting all your bits of bone, get a piece of mesh, squash the bones together and put it back in and hope it fixes it. But there was too many... there
was no confidence in it at all.
There was so much of it. And I've picked up on this, even though, you know, I've got every drug going. I'm like... And I just turned round to my wife and I just went, get me the fuck out of here. He doesn't know what he's doing. I could not... They were taking the leg off and they weren't... it was like, this is what they're going to try, and I've got no confidence in this. So I said, you need to get in touch with Hutchie. Says that's who needs to. We need to get in touch with him, because I says he's been through this. He's the only man that knows a surgeon that's possibly going to save my leg. So they put the wheels in motion. They got in touch with him, and fair play to him. He got in touch with his surgeon, and he said, we can, he's willing to look at Ben. He's willing to look at you, but you've got to get to Addenbrooke's hospital.
And where's that in the country?
Which is it's not even in Northern Ireland. It is in, where is it? Cambridge. So it had to happen. So we had to get a private jet, private Medivac plane came, collected me. I had to have a private ambulance to get me from the hospital to the airport. The airport.
Yeah.
And then they loaded me onto a plane over to, and then the other side, I had to fly with a doctor, which couldn't be from that hospital because they wouldn't release one. It had to be a private doctor because I was so high risk, because it was right next to my main artery and everything was serious. They did all that. So they got me a doctor. Again, they got onto the plane. When I was on the plane, the doctor had to obviously come with me. Then they got me to Addenbrooke, took me into A&E, and then they sat me down in there. I waited in there for, it was something like Sunday, and he couldn't see me till Monday or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but I was where I needed to be. They got me there, and
money wouldn't literally not have passed your mind at all.
Well, everybody, they sorted it. Yeah. It was sorted, and my family and everybody, they got it. They got me sorted.
In moments like that, money wouldn't even be crossing your mind, but it can.
My wife and everybody, Glenn Irwin and everybody was trying to sort everything out, and they thankfully they got it sorted, and they got me to Addenbrooke's, and Mr. Kirkovich was the surgeon's name who did my leg, and he comes in and he goes, he said, Ben, I need you to understand how serious this is. You've got 17 centimetres of bone missing from above your knee, and your knee is shattered. So he says, the only way we can do this is we can treat every single loose piece of bone as cancerous. So he says, we take everything away. Whatever I can't screw back together is going. Everything. Every single piece, and we'll see what we're left with. So the knee was in 3 bits or however, and we screwed it all together. Got all that done. And then I was left with a void of 17 centimetres. So before that, he said to me, you'll either wake up with a leg or without a leg, but I'm willing to have a go. But this man was willing to have a go. Yeah. And I knew he was good. He was the man to do the job. So if he couldn't fix it, there was nobody that was going to do it. I didn't have no second. There was no point me saying, I need a second opinion. It was like, the opinion. You're doing it because you're saying you're going to have a go. You're going to have a go at fixing my leg. And I was like, thank you. And everything he said was like, this is going to be tough. This is not going to be easy. This is going to be painful. This is going to be, he said, he said to me, you'll probably get sepsis 3 times through the entire procedure. He says, but, it's just what it is. We're in this situation. You've got to deal with it. That's how brutal. But that was, for me, that was like, I know what you've, I've got to go through. So I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So we do.
I'm slowly sliding on the seat here.
We do that, and he takes the bone away, and I come round after the op. I look down, I've got a leg. Still got it. I was like made up.
Fuck it.
I still got my leg.
I bet you, a part of you must have gone to sleep that night, like that, in that surgery, in that room, and just gone, I don't want to wake up in some ways. I don't want to know the answer.
I just...
You know what I'm like?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it was that bad. I think it was that bad. I just wanted to just get the ball rolling because I couldn't do anything at that point. I didn't know anything. Yeah. I think if you haven't got it, you can deal with it.
Yeah.
If you have got it, you can deal with it. But I never wanted to lose my leg. I was adamant, you don't take my leg away. You do not take my leg away. I don't care what you got to do. You do not take it away. So we get to that. I've woke up. I've still got the leg, so I'm thinking, yes, I've got a chance here. Look down, and I see this monstrosity that is on the side of my leg, and this thing is just looks like a piece of scaffolding that they've bolted on with this big pulley on it, and this big, everything's big. It's hanging out the side of my leg, and I just wake up, and I just remember lifting it up. I looked at it, and I just took a deep breath, and the only thing I could do was put the cloth back over it. I couldn't deal with what I could see hanging out of me. And I just thought, my God. So then he comes around to me and he says, right, we've got this void. He says, what we're going to start doing now is we're going to do a bone transport. So he said, at the minute you've got a 17 centimetre piece of basically like putty or whatever, hard in your leg. We've squashed it in there. You've got this on here now. There's a plate down the side of it. And then we're going to do that. And we're going to leave that for 6 weeks. And then you're going to come back. Then we're going to install the pulley system, which will pull your bone down for the rest of the
17 centimetres.
Yeah. So I was like, right, okay, so no load bearing, no weight bearing, nothing, no weight bearing. So just you sent home with all these drugs and everything and all this lot. So I've gone home, done that. It took me an hour and a half to get from out of the car to my front room because I sat on the back seat, obviously laid with my legs straight. Hour and a half to go, 20 foot. Did that, got into there, then obviously home life is completely shattered. Everything that has changed massively overnight. And, it was a difficult time for me, especially for my family, especially for my wife and everything. So we had this long road, so we did that. And then I had the fixator fastened on to do this thing. And he said, right, okay, Ben, you pull this now at 1 centimetre a day. So you have to click this little pulley, which is a thing that pulls it down for 1 centimetre so you do it 4 times a day to get to get 1 millimetre. So I'm like, okay. So I do this. So I'm thinking, right, 170 days. I'm working all this stuff out, which you do. You're constantly thinking, So I've pulled this thing down for 170 days. But in that time, I had a bone infection, which I had to have a PICC line, which goes straight into your heart, which I had to administer my own intravenous drugs, which I had to go to be trained to be done. So I had to do this at home, and I had this PICC line in, which goes in your heart, in your arm there, which kept because I had bone infection. So that was that. Then I had that for 6 weeks. Then I had another. I got that out, and then I had 2 days later they rang me up. They went, "Oh Ben, it's the people from can't remember what ward it was. Said you've got a blood infection. You've got to have another PICC line. Back in again, another PICC line." So got all that lot done. Did that myself, and then it was just operation after operation after operation.
How many?
21 operations on that leg I had. So, bone grafts and pulling all of it down. And then I got all of it done. Did all that, which was when you've had that amount of operations, it takes it out of you. I was like, but
how many months?
I couldn't weight bear on my leg for 2 years. So I couldn't walk
for 2 years.
But when you go to walk, you can't walk. You've got no muscle mass.
Learn to walk.
You have to learn to walk again. Then I had to start all that, the physio side of things. But, it was a big, it was a massive, every operation I went into I was maybe 20 ops in. And it was like, Ben, this one's pretty serious now. Everything you've done could all be for nothing. That was on multiple occasions that it could still have to be removed after all this lot that I've been through. So yeah, I got all that done, and we got myself back and learned how to walk again, and we started to move forward. But I never lost this thing. The thing that got me through it, it would have been easier. It would have been so much easier just to chop it off. And the pain, I've never felt pain like it, so painful. Then I did all that lot, and then the plate on the outside of my leg snapped. I was walking, I just started to load bear on it, bang, snapped, bent my leg.
Oh.
So it bent the bone that I was hardening, it bent it. So I'm like, I ring Mr. Kirkovich up and I said to him, I think the plate snapped. He says, you need to come down now. So I went down, and in the time that it took me to get from my house to Addenbrooke's, my bone had set enough that my leg was permanently bent. So he had to
break it. Oh.
He had to get it sorted, but he didn't actually break it because the bone's still bent the same now. But he had to drill it and put a rod from top to bottom, from the hip to the knee is now a titanium rod with however many screws in. I don't know, but
in there
I can have it took out. But what? No, it's not. It's working. But I have. We're sat here now, and I've got to have another operation. He wants to now break it again, and he said to me, Ben, this will be the worst op you have out of everything you've been through.
After 21 surgeries,
and now it's still, I've seriously, I've got to get. I will have to have it done because it will upset my hip, and everything will start. The other side of my leg will start to go because my leg's 3 centimeters shorter. That leg is still set 3 centimeters shorter than the other leg, so I've got to do it. It's just getting out when I'm going to do it, which is going to be the right time to do it. Because,
are you putting it off?
Yeah, I probably am. But for the simple reason is at the minute I can live a normal sort of life with it as it is, and I've got. It's a big thing to have to go through. This is like he said to me. He said, "This is a big one, Ben. This will be the most painful one you've ever had, and it'll be not a short." Because he says, what they've got to do to straighten it, they've got to break it 6 times. They've got to break the bone 6 times, straighten it, and then do it again. So, which is, obviously, it's not ideal, but it is what it is, and we just have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, it was. So then, once we'd got that that last operation done, obviously I was all the way through that process of getting my legs sorted. The drive was, I'm going to race again. I'm going to race again because
I was just going to ask, like, how deep down the rabbit hole did he go? Like, was it like, how angry were you? Were you angry? Like, did you think, I wish I didn't do it? Was it, what was going on?
I think you always have, you think to yourself that, but, because it's like, I did the Northwest and what have you like that, but if I didn't do the Northwest, if I didn't do the Northwest, I would never have I wouldn't have the family I've got now. There's so many things that I wouldn't have if I didn't do it. So I don't regret it at all because I wouldn't have.
That's good to hear.
I wouldn't have my wife. I wouldn't. That was all down to the Northwest, and I wouldn't change that for the world. That's the most important thing to me. That the people that I've met and the people that I've with me now. I wouldn't have them if I didn't do it. So I'm not mad with the Northwest. I'm not anything. It was part of my journey.
You're not mad at yourself.
No, because it's the same, it was part of a journey that I was put on, and that's just the way it is, know. So I just accept it, and that's that really. So
and then 21 surgeries down the line, you're going to have another one, and you're thinking, and you have, and got back on a bike.
Yeah. I was going to say, how did you deal with the process of going racing again?
Yeah, I think I went back racing in 19. I went back and raced, and I trained really hard and everything, but I couldn't. My leg is only, I can bend it to, I think it's 94 degrees. That, which for somebody not, it's not. I've got used to it now, so my leg just don't bend that way. It just don't bend that way. It's just one of them. But I just dealt with it, and I was always wanting to go back to racing, and I had to have something to drive me to get through all of this, to get me through back, but it was always to go racing again. But I very quickly realised when I was training, that would have been easier before, when I was not injured, that would have been easier. I would have been able to have moved easier. I'd have been able to have this, I'd have been able to have that. But I got back on the bike at Silverstone in 19, and I raced, and I can't remember where I finished, but I did it. I did it, and I got back on the bike, but I had to adapt the bike. I had to change the footrests. My boot was scraping on the floor because I couldn't get my leg back enough, and all these bits. So over the season, we adapted it, and we adapted it, and we adapted it.
At the hardest championship,
domestic
championship in the world.
Like it was,
you know what I mean? It's not like you've just entered Darley Moor again.
No. I wanted to go back and do what I did with the team that I did, that I raced for. So I did it, but I wasn't as good as what I was. It's fair to say that that's the only way you can say it. And I couldn't do what I could do. I couldn't hang. I'd got that style still because that was still my thing, but it was not. I couldn't do what I could do. And when in that championship, you can't give anybody who's fully fit, anybody who's fully, able, you can't give them that advantage. No. You can't say, oh, he can do with losing 20% of his ability and he'll still be at the front because he's that good. I knew how to do it. I knew how to go fast. I knew how to outthink the top riders in that class. There was nobody in the class that I hadn't beaten. There was nobody in there that I couldn't beat. But physically, I couldn't do it because of...
Was it purely a physical thing? Or
it was only a physical thing.
Was there a mental thing at all for you?
There was never a matter that I was scared. There was never a matter of anything like that. It was just physically, that leg would not bend past that degree. And
it's just hard.
You just can't. If you can't go around a corner fast because of that leg, then you're not fast, are you? If you'd lose 10% of your speed just because you can't turn right as fast as you used to be able to turn right, or you can't pick yourself up from a left and go right that fast, you're slow. I think, I probably was running around the 4th place mark, which is not shabby, but it's not winning. It's not winning, is it?
No.
So I was only really interested if I was going to be winning. So, we did that season, and halfway, I think it was where was it? Thruxton. Going into the first chicane, big high side, same leg, tib and fib.
Oh, lower down.
Broke it.
Where was that? Again. Where was it, sorry?
Thruxton. Oh. Going into the first chicane, just lost the rear going in, threw me over the bars, bang, did my tib and fib straight out. So
clean or?
Yeah, just bang, clean, leg went up, this whole shebang all over again, just lower down. Just lower down. So I'm like, oh, great. Now I've got this lot to go through again. So I'm proper stressing now, and, I'm in a mess, and I'm in the medical centre in a mess, and They've pumped me full of this whatever stuff, which for whatever reason affects me, and I cry like a flipping baby as soon as they give me. It doesn't matter where or whatever. I can't remember what stuff it is, but there's a whistle things. It reacts.
Crack pipes.
Yeah, and it just affects me so bad.
Really?
I'm like a baby. I go from being this hard nut to this baby. But anyway,
you better watch out. You don't smoke vapes here. You may just hand you one of them. All right, Ben. All right, son, have one of them.
So yeah,
it is an emotional thing though. Regardless of the drugs, it's.
I'm not that sort of person. That's not me. And that drug just seems to affect me in that way. So anyway, I've had that bit done. So this is in the same year that I've come back. So it's a tough year anyway. And then I've gone and broke my leg again.
In the same year?
Yeah.
In 19?
In 19, I broke the leg.
Same everything.
Yeah. So
I think I remember that.
So I did that. Then I came back, had 6 weeks or whatever it is. I missed one meeting, came back to Assen. Last chicane, took the front, broke my leg again.
Same leg?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, but it wasn't fully broken as in properly fully broken. It was just...
It was broken. It was broken.
But the thing was...
Jesus.
I was out there and I was racing. It didn't matter. I was racing. So I hopped off, got myself back to the flipping... It was in morning warm-up, got back to the caravan, and Michael was like, Ben, you can't race. You can't race. I'm like... And I just turned around and I went, I'm racing. And I think it was a mental thing. I raced, I finished, and the pain at the end of it was absolutely unbelievable, but I did it and I got it done. I was out there and I got it done.
Yeah.
So I raced that race. Then obviously I had to then get it healed again. So I healed it again, raced for the rest of the season, you know, because the way I thought of it was I've raced and I've broken it, so I'll just not do a lot and I can race the next 3 rounds because I only got 3 rounds left or whatever.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I decided I'm going to go and do a Mablethorpe at the very end of the season. So
Back to the sand.
Back to the sand race. I thought I'd go and do a sand race.
For the crack.
Just for the crack of it. You put your left leg out at Mablethorpe, well, at the sand race, because you only have to turn left. So
you're thinking you're bulletproof at this point. Yeah.
That leg's brand new. Just leave that on there and forget about that. So I've gone back.
Can you see where this is going, Josh?
I can.
You can, that's good.
I've gone back.
Let's pause the video here. Multi-choice.
So I've gone
50-50.
And done the first race, done the second race or something. I can't remember what race it was in. Coming out of turn 1, somebody decides to go up the inside of me because it doesn't matter what I do. If I'm at Mablethorpe or whatever, I seem to have this target on my back. It's like we're beating him. Well, I want to beat him. So everybody wants to beat you. It doesn't matter what you do. If you've done the bit, everyone wants to beat you. So I've done this. Someone comes up the inside of me. Me being me, I'm just like, well, I'm not going to give you it, am I? But I wasn't being...
Fuck the other leg, we're going in.
I wasn't being as like I would be if I was road race, you know, doing what I was doing before. But I'm not just going to go, here you go, sir.
Yeah.
You know, have fun. I'm not. You're racing. You're racing at the end of the day. So we ended up having a bit of a come together.
Wasn't Bradley Perkins, was it?
No, I don't know who it was, to be honest. I had this wobble. Didn't even crash. Didn't crash, but I had this massive tank slapper. You know what motocross boots are like? The foot went, spun round the wrong way. So I looked down and foot's facing the wrong way. So I drove down. I'm just thinking, oh my God. So bearing in mind now, this is like 3 times in one season that I've done this same leg. Drove down.
But it was the other leg.
No, but this is the same leg again.
He's put his right foot down.
I've had the wobble. Didn't even crash.
Shit. And
the foot came off the footrest and spun round.
Same surgeon.
Didn't need a surgeon for that because it was just sort of like.
That's good because I bet you.
You know, but I did see him because I only wanted him to deal with it. But he sorted it. He didn't need no surgery. He just sort of, you know, he just sorted it and what have you and potted it. And I went to them people for him to deal with it. But yeah, spun this. So I'm riding down there. I've seen this. My leg's the wrong way. I'm like, oh jeez, I've got this again. So I'm thinking, how am I going to get off this bike? I don't want to put my foot down. I was, you know, terrified of putting this foot down. So I came in and I just saw my wife and my kids stood there, and I just pointed down, and she saw my leg, bang, facing the wrong way. So I've rode round in circles. I'm thinking, I don't know what to do. So I ended up just having to like lay the bike down, and I laid down there. And then that was it. Ambulance onto the beach, get me on, and put me on this flipping on the prom side. They forget to put the brakes on it. I roll down on the stretcher. My wife's holding it. It's nearly tipping over. So they do that. They get me into the ambulance. I've got a motocross boot on and everything, and they go, "Right, let's get this boot off." And they're like, "Let's give him some gas and air."
Right. Boys.
This big. This is all they're allowed to carry. Is 2 gas and airs that big.
Gas and air shit as well.
Yeah,
it's shite.
Yeah, but it might as well just not exist.
Yeah, but all they had got was these 2 gas and air and some paracetamol.
Yeah,
boys,
where's the good stuff?
It might as well just have been Calpol.
Yeah.
So we
I gas and air.
So
for the rest of the time.
So they've said, right, take a couple of puffs on that. I take 2 puffs on, it's empty.
Never.
So they want to take this boot off me. So they can't take the boot off me. Back to hospital. Can't get the boot off me or anything. And I'm like, you're not cutting my boots off me. You're not cutting the boots off. I'm like any rider.
Any bike racer.
Yeah, you don't want to cut your leathers off.
I don't care that much. I'd have been like, cut the fucking off.
So
what brand of boots were they?
Alpine Star?
Yeah, I wouldn't cut them off. Not a chance. No way.
Something like that.
No way. You can replace the clips.
Three leg breaks. I'm thinking, come on.
So yeah, that was that. And then at the end of that, if you want to know the truth, once I'd had 3 leg breaks, seeing what my family was going through, which was, you know, it was too much. I didn't want my wife seeing me smashed up. Didn't want my kids seeing me smashed up. You know, and 3 leg breaks in a year, it's like you think to yourself, oh,
there's a bit of a knock on the door.
You know,
there.
I'm thinking to myself now. I'm thinking that that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah.
I'm not. You know. And then obviously at the end of that year was when we decided to take on the team, and then that was what that went to run Gearlink.
Go.
I'm really interested in that because, like, obviously you had a few riders and stuff. And how was that? Sorry, I've done well.
You have. You've done very well, to be honest, Josh. You're very well.
How was that for you in terms of like the transition? So obviously I get there was like real reason for you not to ride, and maybe in your head you could accept that to a degree. Did it help you?
Kept me in the paddock.
Yeah.
You know, it's something. You know, I never wanted to be a team manager.
Yeah.
Not really. You know.
I don't think many people probably do.
You know,
Do they?
I didn't want to do that. I didn't really. I'm very much a person where I'd want to get my hand. You know, I want to get stuck in.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
before that, I missed a bit. I crew chiefed for Ben Curry after the crash.
Yeah.
I went and crew chiefed for him, and that was the year in 18, I think it was, when Ben was, and then I crew chiefed for him in 2021, which was the year when, crew chief for him then. And me and Ben worked really well together, and he you know, and he was a, you know, he did a good job and what have you like that. But we had some decent results, you know. We did all right. So I did that, and then I went into team manager. So I missed that bit out. I've done a bit.
Did you you didn't want to do it?
I didn't want to do it.
So how was it? That's quite a hard thing.
It wasn't that I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I would just prefer to be a crew chief, or I prefer, because that's where I think that my strengths are, you know, to be able to liaise with a rider, to be able to, if they tell me they've got a problem, I sort of like know probably what it is. You know, you don't always need to get the laptop out. You don't always need to get the, you know, to see what the bike's doing. If they say to me, I've got this problem, I can sort of work out what it is from that, because obviously all my life I've been a bike technician and everything like that, so I've done all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you've been out there and done it.
Yeah,
and
I've done that, and we've got you know, we do our own suspension stuff, we do, you know, I do gearboxes, I do all that stuff, so I've got an understanding of a motorcycle, so I do know what, and it seems to work. But you know, yeah, so I did the team managing thing. And yeah, but I always just wanted to just get stuck into the bike, really, to be honest. But, you know, we did it, and yeah, it was, it had its challenges. I was not going to say, because it always does. But, you know, it's, yeah.
How did you find managing riders? Because you've got lads that are performing and lads that aren't performing, and how do you deal with that? As someone yourself who's been there, done it, and understands. And the shit thing for the lads riding for you is you've fucking ridden them bikes at that pace as well, which is really annoying.
Which, yeah, but I think sometimes
walking into it.
Yeah, sometimes I think I think there's sometimes a little bit. Sometimes it depends what riders it was. You know, you can't bullshit me sometimes because I've done it. But at the same time, you know, times move on and they get quicker and they're going quicker than what I was on that bike. But if they're not going quicker, and the settings are in the bike, which are proven week in, week out, for when you've got a team like Gearlink that's ran that same motorcycle since 2009 on pretty much the same suspension with 50 odd riders on that bike, and this setting works and they're saying it's unrideable, I'm sorry, that is pretty hard to believe when you're the only rider that's saying it is unrideable.
There's a difference between like I get the argument that everybody likes things their own way and like slight nuances, but there's unrideable, and then like I would prefer it if it was like this. Like,
you know,
I get that.
The base setting for that bike was a good setting. I would ride in it who rode as aggressive as I did, and then somebody like Ben Curry would ride pretty much on the same setting, and he's perfectly in line and smooth. You know, there's been a lot of riders that have rode that bike, and we've been able to, majority of the time, give them a bike that they can do the job.
Certainly not going to argue that it's not going to be in the ballpark.
It's going to be somewhere there. We need to. You might need a bit of rebound here, or you might need a different spring, or this, that, the other. But the base setting's there. So yeah,
you know what you're talking about.
That was probably would be a frustrating part of it, is if that would be the case. But you know, you're going to get that anywhere you go, aren't you? You're going to do that. But 100%. You know, it's not always, it's not sunshine and roses being a team manager.
No, I can well imagine. And what? Sorry.
No, go.
I was just going to say the coming to the end of that. Like, how did that? Was it obviously? I appreciate Michael probably wanting to retire essentially, or take a step back in what he was doing.
That was announced this year, wasn't it?
Gearlink. The Gearlink Kawasaki are that's that. Michael had just come to the end of the road with it. He had enough of doing it and what have you. And after the amount of years he'd done it, he was perfectly within his right to do it.
100%.
Michael wasn't the same. He's not got the same passion. Without Norma, he's not got the same passion. So he then is at a point where he's like, I'm pretty much done with it now. And, I'm... if that's the way he feels, then that's fine by me. We'll end it now, and then that'll be the end of it. So we did the last season of last year, and then they give him a fantastic send off, and then that's it.
Yeah,
definitely.
There's no desire for you to maybe like try and find the budget and run it and do that, or just not really.
Yeah, well, I'm just in the middle of sorting something out at the minute for this new season, so we'll just have to just watch this space and see a little bit about it, but. Yeah,
CTR exclusive.
We're just
heading your way.
Yeah, we're just working on something at the minute, so
that's good.
I will be running something with somebody, so we'll just see there.
Whereabouts in the line are you with that though? This is an opportunity, so you are putting a plan together.
Yep.
How far down the line would you say? 8%, 90%. Looking for sponsors.
Yeah, we've got the bikes.
Brilliant.
We've got that. We've got the bikes. We've got the infrastructure. We've got the rider. But
fantastic.
Obviously, it's like anything. You're always looking for some sponsorship. We just need a title sponsor to come on board with us, just to try and make the job easier, and go from there. So, but we'll have a decent bike. We've got a good rider, so we'll just go out there and just see how we go.
And what is the best way to get in touch with you? That if people are listening to this and more curious, and what is the best way to get in touch with you?
I don't know. I suppose just.
Oh, wait, man! Sell yourself for God's sake, man! Go on,
Wilson's Motorcycles. Just get on there and then just get in touch with me. But yeah, I'm at I'm at a point where I can, say that we're going to have a really decent bike, really decent rider, and it's very small. The team will be a really small team. That's how I want it to be. I don't want to do anything. I don't want anything to be like it was Gearlink side of things. It'll be a smaller team. It'll be a smaller sort of entity sort of thing. So, but yeah, I'm definitely looking for someone to come on board with us. So if there's anyone there.
But if it's the rider I'm thinking it is, 100% sharp end. 100% sharp end.
He'll be.
No, when you think about how competitive.
Will you nod if I get?
I got on YouTube. No, but it's how competitive Supersport is. Like everything in any sport, in any discipline, you go up and down, up and down. Obviously, when you were racing with that cracking race with Seeley, you're talking about the highs and then it dips down. But we are going back into that climb of Supersport when you think about how competitive the grids are. Yeah, I honestly would say you are looking to be at the sharp end. You know what I
mean? He's a quick lad, and the bike will be, the bike will be really good, and it'll be competitive. But it's a new team. It's going to run alongside my new business. So yeah, brilliant. We're going to get Wilson, Performance 15 out on there and see if we can,
fantastic.
Get a team running and get the ball rolling and see if we can get him at the front.
Damn right, and I tell you, honestly, it's a great time to get involved. Smaller team, fresh starts. Oh, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Couple of quid. Now I'm going to check my phone here. You got any more questions there, Josh? Because we've got the patrons. We don't go anywhere about the patrons. We're going to have a quick look through that. Dave Rutherford, did you ever have any reservations when Ollie started racing, or were you more worried about how his mum was going to take it?
Not really. He started off, quite steady, and we didn't know if he'd really have the aggression in him.
Like earlier in the pod, you were like, it seemed like a very quick transition to he's got the bite.
Yeah,
he seemed to give that image off earlier.
He didn't. When he started, we didn't actually know if he was going to be really fast or he was going to have that aggression or anything. And he just, all of a sudden, he sort of started getting so aggressive with it and started getting the bug for it. And
let's hear that, my boy.
We used to think to ourselves, oh, is he, is he going to have that and what have you like that? But he soon got it, and I can't take it away from him. He wants it as bad as I wanted it. And
class. But the second part of that question is, how did Mum take it?
Mum fully supportive of him. She was fully supportive. Obviously, I sent a picture to her on the when we got him the road race bike, and then all of a sudden, shit's got real now.
Yeah,
now he's got a bike. Real. It's like he's going down that route. So, but no, she's 120% behind him. She is as much an influence on this as me. Good. She's a great racing mum. Amazing. She does everything that she can do, and she knows a lot about racing. She's been through a lot with me, and she's done a lot. So she loves the bikes and everything like that. So she's a great mum for him to have in his corner.
Good, man. Good. Go on, Josh. Next question.
Just a message from Gary Proctor, basically just recognising, obviously, that you've had some cracking years in Supersport. Seeley, some of the best seasons we've ever had in racing. But is there a particular race or moment in your career that stands out as a personal highlight?
Probably the best race I did was at Knockhill in 2009 when I got my first Supersport win. I was racing against Westy, and the Kawasaki was not as fast as the Triumph, and every time up the start and finish straight uphill, he would just pass me every single lap. But once I got into turn one, every time he'd hold me up for the entire lap, and then I'd get down there, I'd pass him again, and then he would like that, and then it just went on and on and on and on and on. And I managed to be able to beat him, and that feeling of winning my first Supersport race after everything that I'd tried to do for all my racing career up to that point. You don't get a British Supersport trophy or a winning trophy off a cereal packet. You just don't. It's so difficult to get, and so many riders go all their career and don't get one, or even in a British Championship. And that first win I got was amazing, because Supersport's not Superstock. It's not. British Supersport is like one job below. It's like it's
the Premier class.
Yeah, it's
one
like,
of the Premier
yeah,
classes.
it's like it's a proper class. So, and there's proper riders in it. So yeah, that would be my highlight.
I like it. And to bring it back down to earth, a question from Stephen Whitmore. What's it like to throw open your new RI lid while trying to get used to a new superbike down the back straight at Almira?
Yeah,
what a joyful week that was.
Yeah, that was actually. Let me think. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, there's no bullshit, because Stephen Whitmore is one of our patrons. He'll tell us everything if you're lying here.
He used to do the truck for Vivaldi.
Right.
Yes. So I was got food poisoning, and I was desperate to get on this superbike. And I remember coming in, I could manage about 3 laps, I think it was, and then I'd be sick. And I ended up I think I went for a 4th lap. Halfway down the back straight, it came up straight at the bottom of my helmet, all over the leathers, everywhere.
Dirty.
So I didn't, I was straight. Normally it would be 3 laps in, spew, drink, out. So that was obviously when I was with Tony riding for him, and he says to me, he goes, "Ben, what you need to do now is go in there and eat a bowl full of plain rice." And
You're trying to dry your iPhone out.
I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, I can't do that. He said, that'll fix you. And I'm like, mate, come on. I just kept drinking water, and then and it pretty much ruined that entire test. There was about 6 of us who went down with food poisoning. Horrendous, but
class.
Yeah, that was what it was really lovely.
There's a message here from Craig Harris, who's saying, when you came back from your injuries after the Northwest, you chose to go to Cadwell for a test. He's asking, why did you choose to go to Cadwell when it's so demanding? And a little side note here, he says, I was the lad that you gifted the afternoon session to, as he went over there wasn't a space, and then you must have pulled off and gave him the space, basically.
Oh, he owes me.
This bill's getting steeper and steeper throughout this show. Absolutely.
I think we went to Cadwell probably because it's 20 minutes from where I live.
Yeah, I figured that would be the one.
That would be, to be honest, you might as well start at the toughest track, because if you start at the toughest one, every one's going to be easier. So that's probably why. I don't know.
Good logic.
You're going to get sniffing skid marks in there?
William Hints there, sniffing skid marks. He's working out in America at the moment, so he's going to be out there for a bit longer. So his question is, who was the most underrated rider you've had? Being a big Westy fan and will always be synonymous with Gearlink and Kawasaki.
Underrated.
Who's the most underrated?
I don't know. That's a tough question.
That is a tough, good question, that, mate. Who's the biggest pain in the arse you worked with?
I'm not going down that route. Actually, tell you what. Yeah, I'm not going down.
I'm not going down that route
because it's just like TBA.
The TBA straight in there, just chuck it in there. But
great rider, great rider, great friend, but God Almighty, he's hard to work with. He was hard work for me to work with, but yeah, he's a great lad.
I think on the underrated one, it's a good. I'd pick two of your riders. One only rode for you very briefly, I think. Scott Swan.
Yes.
He's really gone on to do a bit. And Reese, so I wouldn't say Reese is underrated, but he's like, I don't think he quite gets the recognition for like the level of talent he is.
Yes.
At the minute.
I think with Scott, he's just he's amazing
from
now.
somewhere.
I think it was just a shame he didn't come a year later to us.
Yeah.
I think he was just not quite ready for that at that point, because he was riding, he would have such good, he'd have a flash in the pan of such amazing riding, and then it would be a massive crash.
Yeah.
And he never really, he's that same sort of thing about what I said to you about a rider when they stop crashing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is now stopped and he is now flying.
And then he went on some shit bikes for a bit, didn't he? And then he's like, it's just, I think he's a good example of like right place, right bike, right environment, right everything. Like,
he's just, he is a quality rider now. And, I wish him all the best in what he goes and does this next year. Hopefully when he jumps onto this superbike, he can make that transition from stock to superbike, and he does it, because there's so many riders that have gone stock to superbike where it doesn't seem to happen. Yeah. It doesn't seem to be the route.
No.
So, but hopefully he goes out there and he does a good job.
He's seen his dad got put in the Hall of Fame, the motorcycle awards. Mike Ronnie got and you think, how nice is that, man?
It's a legend.
So, father and son up at the Motorcycle Irish Awards. It was absolutely lush to see, man.
And if you saw what Scott did last year, that was just some friends and him.
Back of a van job, wasn't it?
I remember he came up to us and we were at Alton Park. He rolls the back of the truck up and he's got his bike in there, pushed in with all his stuff over the top of it, and he's just got a Liverpool like fleece over the bike, quilt over the bike to protect it, and he's got his flooring next to it, he's got his bike on top of it, he's got everything. And he went and won that weekend. Class. And you see all them big Arctics and everything. And this kid's gone out there.
They've just gone for it.
And just rinsed the lot. you just think to yourself,
fair play.
You're the boy.
I like that.
So, fair play.
I like it. I love it. Got any more questions, man? I absolutely love this.
I've really enjoyed it, yeah. It's been good.
I tell you what, but so when are you going to commit to the surgery then? I think we should do it now. Let's get that hammer. We'll mash your leg and we'll just force you in.
We've got some super glue.
Jeez, we're going to have to give that a whirl, actually.
Got it.
I thought it was going to crack again on that side of things. But obviously, absolutely loved it, mate. Thank you so much for letting us clog up the drive, shut the business down for a day. It's been absolutely great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
And I'm looking forward to the announcement on that side of things. Come on, give us a hit.
It'll not be long.
It won't be long. Give us a hint, man. Come on, play the game a little bit. A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks from now. So this pod might be out. Oh, this might tie in. I'm looking at Grace. The Lord Commander's here again. So we're looking at this. Go on. Now we'll leave it. We're going to put him too much under pressure.
You can give us the heads up and we'll get it out there for you when time comes.
Damn right. But obviously, thank you so much. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at Grace here. We've obviously got a new stock of the Alan Carter books freshly back in. Hats, caps, calendars. We're in February now, so if you're desperate for one, just please message Grace. Please have a look at the website. Grace has been doing a lot of hard work. You've stepped into an office now, haven't you? So it's getting serious, getting seriously quick as well. But on the other side note, Josh, we haven't had you on the show in a canny while, and things are coming together for your team, aren't they?
Well, our team, boss. Yeah, no, it's coming together well. We've just this is a few weeks out, but we've just picked a new bike up. So BMW, Lloyd's, Carlisle have got all that organised, so the lads have picked it up. It's got to be running on the road before they can do some electronic stuff to it. So
like 500 miles, isn't it? Yeah,
Matty and Tim are currently taking in turns to razz it around the Lake District, so they're all
in the salt.
Yeah, they're having fun. So we'll next couple of weeks we'll have a bike out ready riding. We've got to like a few little test days planned and stuff like that, but yeah, very excited. And
now we've got you. Now that you've got your coach sitting opposite you, you know what I mean? This is all bringing it back up. You'll be looking at the TSL timers going, yeah, I need a bit more coaching here, Josh. Come on, pull your finger out, son. Pull your finger out.
No, it's honest. It's been really, really good. The like outreach that we've had from all the patrons, all the supporters of Chasin The Racin is great, and it's going to be like lovely just to do something a little bit like a bit extra for the podcast, and that it's going to be nice. So
fantastic
to have everyone there.
Looking forward to it. So further ado, closing shop. Obviously, this show is not possible without patrons. OMG Racing, Lucky Day Competition, JCT, Truck and Trailer Hire, and Josh, this episode, this gory yet brilliant episode,
brought to you by Hatchmor. Check them out on Instagram. Some absolutely gorgeous custom motorbikes.
Brilliant. Awesome. Right, well, it won't be long till we'll see you in the paddock, my man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening, everyone. We'll catch you all later on. See you in a bit.